station, live from the Comcast Business Studios. 97.5, The Fanatic. John Kincade, Andrew Salciunas. This is Kincade and Salciunas. 97.5, The Fanatic, and 97.5thefanatic.com.
You know, we're going to do something different than what everybody else is doing, Johnny, which is something we like to try to do every single day on this show. But I saw something and heard something and read something from like every single network in the Philadelphia area. And today I want to do the opposite, Johnny. It's Kincade and Salciunas on what will be a positive Tuesday. 97.5 The Fanatic.
This is Kincade and Salciunas.
If you were to ask me, Eagles versus Packers, Eagles versus Vikings, Eagles versus Lions, I feel comfortable in saying I believe the Eagles win any of those games.
I know that for the most part, you're always going to count on Nick Sirianni's teams being ready to play no matter what week it is.
Kincade and Salciunas. John Kincade, Andrew Salciunas.
97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com.
And a good Tuesday morning, Philadelphia. Andrew Salciunas alongside my man, John Kincade. Johnny, good morning.
We get closer and closer to Wild Card Weekend.
Eagles-Packers, man. Sunday at 4:30. We will have you covered all week long. Big show today that we'll tell you about as we continue here in the 6 o'clock hour. But, Johnny, you know what? I want to do something different. And I don't want to do
What's that?
I don't want to do it differently to be different, right? There's a lot of people that's what trends start. That's how trends start. Oh, I'm going to do something different than everybody else, and now I'm going to be a trend. No, I just want to do something different because I believe we should be different when it comes to this case. So we do our show. We're the first ones here on the day.
Sure.
And then we're done. And then you drive home. You listen to some things. You read some things. You watch some things. And for whatever reason, there was multiple outlets, networks that asked this question for the Eagles.
Oh, no.
What are you concerned about going into Sunday?
Here's what's funny. You want to do something different because you're not just doing it to be different. No. I want to do something different to be different than that because that's crappy. You're a 2 seed.
You're
14 and 3. You're a dominant team. You're better in every facet of the game. Why in the world do you serve the public with, hey, here's why you need to be scared? I've been talking about this with the Packers for a week and a half.
Yes, you have been.
Thank heavens. Because I wasn't going to do it. I would not have participated in the, why should we be scared of the Packers?
Wait, so if I asked that question, you would have just walked out of the studio?
No, I would have, I'd put up a barrier between us. But I would, I would literally just discount the nonsense of why we're doing it.
We probably still have those COVID barriers around here somewhere.
I'm sure they do.
Plexiglass in between us.
I remember when I arrived.
So, yeah, I mean, look, I'm sitting there yesterday. Like, I knew of this topic yesterday, pretty early on in the day. Because I'm going, why is this always the topic? Why is it always what could go wrong? And you know what, John? I don't want to blame anybody in the media because there are a lot of fans that are like that, too. Anytime you and I, before the season started, talked about something in a positive way about the Eagles.
Guys are too positive.
We got pushback from Eagles fans,
yes.
So stop with the whole evil media thing. There's this weird, we talk about jinxes. Yesterday I asked you about superstitions because Bill Colarulo shaved his beard, and the question is, should he have done that when they've been winning?
I think he looked like $1 million.
He did look good yesterday.
Handsome man, that Bill Colarulo.
But there are also a lot of people that the second you start talking about making reservations at a restaurant on Bourbon Street or in the New Orleans area, there are people that are like, whoa, slow down. Let's get there first.
Don't do anything that's going to jinx it. Jinxes are it's so stupid. We have nothing to do with this game. Nothing. If you're among the 67,000 that will be in the building on Sunday, you actually have a chance to play a small part in the game.
Yes.
By being nasty loud, making an intimidating environment, and everything like that. Other than that, I don't know what. We don't play a part in this. Players don't listen to us and go, oh, man, did you hear Kincade and Salciunas this morning? They're already making dinner reservations for New Orleans. We're in the Super Bowl, baby. They don't care. They don't care. They don't react to it. Players don't listen to it. That's nothing to do with it. They listen to it, but they listen to it mostly with rolled eyes.
Yeah, they sometimes laugh at us.
Right, exactly.
So our question, instead of what are you concerned about going into Sunday, screw that, man. What are you confident in that the Eagles will go into Lincoln Financial Field on Sunday, welcome the Green Bay Packers, into the link Sunday 4:30, and you say they're going to win this game, and not only are they going to win this game, they're going to make it to the NFC Championship game. Or if you're still hesitant saying that they're going to get to the Super Bowl, that's fine.
That's fine. That's fine.
Every right to do
Understandable.
that. But to start all of a sudden doing the fear-mongering, to start talking yourself into this Packers team being some juggernaut. We had texts yesterday about how, don't sleep on the Packers. Why are we sleeping on the Eagles? The Eagles are 14-3.
Why are
they should not be slept on.
You're sleeping on a team that is, every time they have faced a legit Super Bowl contender, they have been punked.
Yes.
So it should not be don't sleep on the Packers, as you well put it. It should be don't sleep on the Eagles. But I can tell you point blank, what am I confident in? I am completely confident that your well-rested Saquon Barkley
Damn right.
is going to have himself a day. That they will be able to run the football, and they used him in the passing game against Green Bay. They may pull out some of that again. I think the offense is going to cook. So I'm confident in that, but I do believe Saquon will be the straw that stirs the drink.
Yeah, and look, I don't believe in the rust factor. I understand why people are concerned about it. Connor, you still bring it up.
That would be mine.
I get it. I get that
concern.
could be somebody's number one concern. All right, that's fair. Right, like that's a fair concern. Saying that Jordan Love is all of a sudden going to throw for 4 touchdowns and 0 picks is not necessarily a fair assumption, especially when he hasn't been that guy and your defense has been number one or toward the top all season long in every single statistical category. I get the rust concern, but, man, once you start running that football, and that's going to open up your receivers, like Jalen Hurts might be a little bit rusty seeing the field early on, but once he sees A.J. Brown wide open because they're stacking the box because they can't stop Saquon, once they do some routes where they will, like, the basically a wide receiver screen. Sometimes it's illegal where they get Devontae Smith open in space, right? They do a great job by Dallas Goedert screening a cornerback for the Packers. Once Jalen Hurts gets in that rhythm, I think that rhythm's going to be there for the rest of the game, and I would say for the rest of the playoffs. Like, I don't think Jalen Hurts is going to have some sort of clunker just because he's missed the last couple of games of the regular season.
I will only say this to you. The people who are concerned about rust with Jalen Hurts, and Connor and I are clearly in that camp. We do have mild concern about that. And people keep pointing to the fact that he didn't play in the preseason. And then he walked right out there opening game, and look how great he played.
He was pretty rusty early on.
You know what he did? He practiced every day for a month. For the most part, they practiced every single day for a month. He hasn't practiced since the concussion. There is no comparison. So anybody who uses that, in training camp, he it's right in. He was rusty early, and more importantly, he had practiced every single day. He is not practicing now. If you have concerns about that, that's an Eagles.
Totally fair.
That's an Eagles concern. That's not a Packers concern.
Yeah,
Right,
and
absolutely.
That concern is mild.
And it's mild.
Concern, like if you
Correct.
put that on a wing, you wouldn't even need a glass of milk after. Like you're gonna be all right. It's not that big of a concern.
Yeah, and look,
Correct.
again, once he completes 1 or 2 passes, he's right back into the swing of things. Like, I truly expect that.
Well, it depends. Is Kellen Moore bringing his A game? And I think he will.
I think he will be.
And if he does,
we'll get into that coming up
there you go.
in the show as well. So our question for you to start at 610-632-0975. You can text in, you can call in. We're not trying to be different just to be different, but hell, we're going to be different today.
You know what, though? When you're
When it
talking
comes to
about
that, you're right.
Let's be different.
Because I'm tired of hearing, what are you concerned about? Why won't they win?
I'm nervous.
What could be the
Ooh.
reason why the Packers end the Eagles season early? Now, screw that, man. The Eagles season is not ending early. The Eagles season is not ending Sunday around 7:30, 8 o'clock. The season will continue, and it'll be another home game for the Eagles in the divisional round of the playoffs. So what is making you feel confident and comfortable in saying, yeah, you know what? Screw that. They are going to win on Sunday, and here's why. Tell us that. 610-632-0975. You heard from us. How about you hear from Nick Sirianni next? Listen to his belief on what you do heading into the playoffs with a 14-win team. Don't forget that, guys. It's Kincade and Salciunas on this Tuesday morning, 97.5 The Fanatic.
Tyrone Johnson.
How many teams in the NFL could sit out 5 guys and still have a...
97.5 The Fanatic. Our question for you today, yes, we are going to try to be different. Instead of doing the old school, what are you concerned about going into Sunday? Man, what are you confident about going into Sunday?
It is the woe is me, oh my gosh, let's be scared, old-time Philly sports radio and fan thing. And honestly, I think it sucks. I've always rejected it. I think it sucks. I think the mentality sucks. I think when you have a 14-3 team, put your damn underdog masks away.
Can you say the record again?
14-3.
Thank you.
And put your expectations up on the shelf so everybody can see them. Like everybody. Pose. You're 14-3. You're supposed to be confident. You're supposed to act like you belong. Don't act like, ooh, I'd rather be the underdog. I'd rather nobody knows we're coming.
Let's face it, the Eagles weren't the underdog 2 years ago. What happened?
No.
They went to a freaking Super Bowl.
And they bullied two teams in South Philly.
Yeah, so
bullied them.
Let's be comfortable being the top dog. That's what I always want to be. I don't want to always have to have the uphill, climb. I want to be smooth sailing. So Nick Sirianni yesterday had his press conference, and we'll play a couple of clips throughout the show for you today. But I want to play this one specifically for you to start the show because it goes into today's topic. So he was asked, is there anything you do different? Because they're playing the Packers for a second time this year. The Eagles have played a lot of games. There's a lot of tape now out on them throughout the course of the season. It's no question what they do.
Yeah, we know what they are.
They run the football, right? It's the Saquon Barkley show. And then Jalen Hurts drops back and has great wide receivers to throw to. But it's a run-first offense except for one game during the winning streak. And that, of course, was the win against the Steelers following some comments made by, A.J. Brown. And that may have led to that game plan specifically. So here was Nick Sirianni talking about what you do and no, not differently.
The higher the stakes get, as we get into single elimination football, the more you got to stay committed to the things you've done on a daily basis to get 14 wins. I think that's been my biggest thing is like, all right, what can you do different here now? Or not, and it's not even different, and it always comes back to what got you here, what got you 14 wins. That doesn't mean you're not looking to improve on the things that you can do better at, which is exactly what we're doing and trying to shore up every single thing we possibly can. But what are the core things that got you to this situation? When everybody's talking about single elimination football, what happens this? Well, what happens in 3 weeks if you do this or that? Blah, 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 that we stay committed to completely what we're doing. It's what we've tried to do all year, and that's the point, right, is what's gotten you to the number 2 seed and, stick to those principles, tough, detailed together, and really double, triple, quadruple down on those things.
It's my favorite thing. That might be my favorite soundbite, and I heard it yesterday on Best Show Ever. It might be my favorite soundbite I've ever heard from Nick Sirianni.
Wow, how about that?
And when I knew you were going to use it, I put a smile on my face because, to me, it might be the greatest thing that I've ever heard him say.
Wow.
Because, to me, it speaks to your initial talking point. Worry about yourself.
Yeah.
The Packers have to worry about you. You're 14-3. You earned the home game. You're the 2 seed. You're one of the 4 best teams in football. To me, dance with what brung you.
Yeah.
Do what you do well. Let them worry about you.
That's why I disagreed with times when Bill, our man Bill Colarulo, who does middays with Mike Missanelli, but also the pregame show, well, this team is one of the better rushing defenses in the NFL. Am I supposed to now all of a sudden change my offensive game plan just because the opposing team is good at it? The Eagles are great at it. The Eagles are, and it's funny. Remember how we looked it up earlier in the year? I think the Jags were like top 5 in rushing yards allowed.
And they were, yeah.
Rushing yards allowed was still 4.5 yards per carry.
Sure.
2 of those, and you're in tush-push distance, right? Like, why should I all of a sudden go, oh, the boogeyman, 4.5 yards allowed per carry. Let's throw the ball 40 times. No. How about they try to stop not just Saquon Barkley, but the threat of Jalen Hurts running the football, and then from left to right, Jordan Mailata, Landon Dickerson, Cam Jurgens, Mekhi Becton, Lane Johnson. Why am I supposed to all of a sudden be like, yeah, you know what? Let's drop back to throw the ball 50 times. I love what Nick Sirianni said yesterday.
I do too. I think, Nick, you're on the right track, and I think it's a great strategy heading into a major week.
They are a 14-win team. So what
Embrace
makes
it.
you exactly
Put your underdog mask away and stop whining about, I like being the underdog better, sneaking up on people.
No, I
Bully
love
people.
this. I want to be the best team.
Yes.
So coming up next, Johnny, the Philadelphia fan.
Oh, yeah.
I know the Philadelphia fans. I know how the flow of this week will go for a lot of Eagles fans, but I want to try to squash that early. Feel good about this game. Feel good about your 14-win team. Honestly, there's only really one thing that could go wrong. You'll get a weather report next. It's Kincade and Salciunas, 97.5 The Fanatic.
Fanatic Sports Update.
How teams have changed. I'm Connor Thomas, and the Eagles are beginning their prep for the wild card matchup with the Green Bay Packers. Nick Sirianni talked yesterday about how either team has changed from Game 1 to Game 18 of the regular season.
From Game 1 to Game 18, everyone's a different team. Now, obviously, there's things that are staples that have been good for them that remain the same, but, there's a lot of changes and a lot of differences.
So with some different things going on for both sides, we'll see if there's anything the Eagles can learn from way back in September when they played Green Bay in Brazil. The Sixers lost to the Suns last night at the Wells Fargo Center, 109-99. Joel Embiid did not play in the game. He's day-to-day with a sprained foot. The Sixers will play the Wizards at home on Wednesday. The Flyers play the Maple Leafs tonight at 7:30 p.m. in South Philly. You can hear that game live right here on 97.5 The Fanatic. We'll talk to Coach Tony Dungy coming up at 8:25. Amy Fadool for the entire 9 o'clock hour. This update's brought to you by Indeed.com. You don't need a job site. You need a hiring platform. Indeed lets you schedule and conduct virtual interviews all from one place. Start at Indeed.com/credit. I'm Connor Thomas for the home of the 76ers and Flyers, 97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com.
Ricky Batalico.
This offensive line, you know how you can tell the difference?
Kincade Salciunas, 97.5 The Fanatic. Now, before we get into this discussion of the flow of the Eagles fan for this week, John thinks he knows where I'm going.
I think I know. It's why we don't do the show before the show.
But before we do that, give us a little report on the weather. So, Connor and I do not watch the news.
You do not watch the news. We are 6 devotees.
And not that we are anti-news. I love Channel 6, Channel 3,
we love
Fox
them.
29, love all of them.
Great. They're all great people.
It's just, I don't look at the clock and see 6 o'clock and go, gotta put on the news.
No, we'll bounce around. I mean, because, after General Hospital, sometimes you run right into Shari Williams and Brian Taff and Rick Williams and the whole gang over at 6. And I can tell you, what we're looking at is potentially, it's a coin flip right now as to what's going to happen. But we could be having a major snow event this weekend. Major. And they talked about it last night. If it does go the one path that it can go, it would be a snow bomb.
Wow.
Like a huge snow event. More than a foot is what they were talking. Like giant snow event that we have not had in a long time here.
Which I kind of want to see, but then again,
we don't want to see
Eagles
it.
play Sunday.
Oh, we don't. Now, here's the thing, too. A lot of our listeners are, and I got my buddy Paul coming in from Atlanta this weekend, big Birds fan, grew up in Jersey, big Birds fan. They come up and they always spend in our house, hang out with us for every Eagles home playoff game.
Okay.
They come up, Paul and Ann. They're flying up Saturday. I mean, we could be facing a huge snow event this weekend. It's just something to watch for. And it is also something, too, that could potentially play into weather conditions on Sunday. It's going to be bitter cold.
Now, if there's any team that can handle it.
Green Bay's not going to have any problem.
Also the Eagles.
But Green Bay is going to yawn.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
At whatever
and
weather
you have beefy
conditions
back
they
in Josh Jacobs. So both teams
Correct.
would actually thrive in a weather game like that.
But it was weird. Sunday, and you know how I'm goober boy with this stuff. The fourth quarter, the Eagles started the fourth quarter on Sunday at 3:03 p.m.
Yeah.
Like that. Look, both of those teams wanted to get out.
I
that
said
day.
on the pregame show with Bill and Connor, I want this game to be over before 4 o'clock.
Oh, it was. Yeah, I mean, it was done. They started the fourth quarter at 3:03.
Yeah.
Can you imagine bitter cold conditions with these two backs and the way both quarterbacks have sort of been reined in as the year's gone along? Man, I'm telling you, it could be a fast game, limited possessions, which then puts more pressure on them to be effective in the offense.
Right.
Might be a good thing if you're somebody who's actually worried about Jalen Hurts being rusty. 2 feet of snow is going to force this to turn into a rushing off.
Well, the thing
right?
is, remember, they're going to have the field covered.
No, I got you.
But still.
But if it snows into Sunday, I don't know.
The conditions are going to be nasty. It's going to be a nasty cold day.
I'd rather, if I'm the Philadelphia Eagles, I would rather fight in a phone booth. I would. And I think they could do both. But I would rather them be close quarters, let the offensive line get off the ball and get after these guys, and let Saquon be the one who takes you.
They would probably like it too, honestly.
Dude, that might be the smartest thing you've said in 2025. Like, I love that. I wish.
only 7 days in.
I wish I came up with
Happy
it.
birthday to my sister. by the way.
Happy birthday to your sister. The idea that playing this game in a phone booth, it absolutely benefits the Eagles.
Yeah, not because
They're better on both lines of scrimmage.
Right, and they can play any style of game because they're versatile. But if you're going to play a tight, tough, cold weather, snowy game, Philadelphia is the team you would build to do it.
Now, you're a versatile guy. I'm a versatile guy. You're versatile.
Versatile just sounds smarter.
I say versatile,
Yeah, it's interesting.
but I'm not a smart guy.
Connor studied at Oxford.
Something to keep an eye on, and like you mentioned, it's one or two paths. One path
And
would
one
just be a
path,
couple
right.
inches, but
Could
the
be
other
small.
path would be a
major snow event. Yes.
All right.
That'd be sort of fun though. But I remember the championship game of that sent the Andy Reid to his only Super Bowl here in Philadelphia. That was pretty awesome.
Yeah.
I flew in that Saturday morning. We were on the last flight that got in.
But then you also saw them lose a game that they weren't supposed to lose because of fog, and you don't want to mess around with that.
Gosh,
You
weren't even
I
born.
busted that one out on you. Listen,
weren't even
I'm
born.
a historian on this show.
You were not born.
All right, so I believe I know what the flow of the Eagle fan will be this week. And you will probably know exactly what I'm talking about, John, because you've been around even longer than I have.
And I've got deep in my
Eagles.
DNA.
So the Eagle fan this week will either be very confident early in the week and then all of a sudden be scared as the week goes on, or it's the person that is scared all week long and then come Saturday or Sunday they wake up and go, what have I been scared about all week? The Eagles are going to win this one. I just want to squash that. No fear. No fear. Is that what you were thinking?
Connor, can you verify?
He was verifying that he was saying to me, it was the latter point that you made. Scared all week, wake up on game day. Well, why was I ever scared?
Yeah, talk about all the negatives all week long. And then Sunday morning be like, birds, baby, birds.
Why is that?
Because a lot of, and I'm going to blame my father's generation.
Oh.
Because my father's generation, my Uncle Bill, my Uncle Yummy, I'm blaming all of them because they raised me, and then that generation then has raised you.
Right.
So that's why I'm blaming it, is because that's been the mentality here. Because they got kicked in the privates forever. So their idea was, we're not going to win. We're always got to be. Look, the Eagles kick off every single game. And Olivia loves to say it too. Eagles kick off every single game with Rocky. And she says,
that's true.
She goes, Dad, what were you in? And I say, 5th grade. I was in 5th grade when Rocky. And they keep clinging to it. It's Rocky. It's the underdog. It's nobody believes in us, which, by the way, pisses me off. The Eagles have built I know Jeffrey Lurie got crushed for it, but the Eagles have built one of the gold standard franchises in the NFL. I want to root for a team that is a bully.
Yes.
I want to be part of a fan base that isn't scared of losing, that is confident of winning. And so I knew where you're going to go with this because it really will happen.
And it has been forever. Like 10 years of radio
mentality.
for me. You've been doing it much longer than I have.
Your pop raised you with some of that.
Yeah, you're right.
And your pop got raised by a generation of people, or was around a generation of people that were raised by an even worse group of them. And it's that idea of, oh, man, yeah, we're not winning anything. Well, you know what? That should have been changed from our vernacular. That should have been washed clear, because the last 25 years have been damn good here. We've been eating filet mignon almost every single year. But there are some who just don't want to embrace it.
Right. And I don't know why. I don't know why. We have it really good here.
Now, there are some, and some people are going to text in. They'll text in and give us some ideas. We might have somebody calling and going, here's why I still feel that way. And if somebody says to me, it's because we only got one Super Bowl, I don't know what to do.
Right, we don't win around here. That's why
I don't know what
worried.
to do with you. I want parades.
And that's why our topic today is to go against the norm. Instead of asking the question today, what are you concerned about going into this game? No, what makes you confident that they will go into this game on Sunday and win? We want to discuss that with you at 610-632-0975. You can text or you can call in. I'll give you another one. Because the fear-mongering of Jordan Love all of a sudden, right?
Yes.
First off, Christian Watson, we'll talk about him coming up in a little bit, but they got some decent receivers. They don't have A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith.
No, they do not.
Like
A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith are the receivers in the game.
Yeah, they're better than Romeo Dobbs. They're better than Jaden Reed. I like Jaden Reed a lot.
I like Reed, yeah.
They're nowhere near the receiver that A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith is. They're also going up against the number one defense.
Yes.
Like, is Quinyon Mitchell and Darius Slay and Cooper DeJean all of a sudden going to stink? Like, no. They're not going to. And they're not going up against Justin Jefferson and Jordan Addison. We can get there when we get there. They're going up against Romeo Dobbs and Jaden Reed, two okay receivers.
Yeah, but they're like, listen, there are weirdos that take stuff too far, everything, like too far of the spectrum. But I haven't heard anyone in the fan base at all saying, well, the Eagles are losing this game. Like, I haven't heard anyone saying, the Birds are going home. Like,
you know
I
what?
don't think
Instead of
anyone's
saying that they're
scared
going to
of-
lose, they're doing the whole, oh, man, I wish it would have been the Commanders.
Well,
and that's
Commanders
them-
would have been an easier
That's them
matchup.
saying that
I
they are
don't
worried
believe that, by
without
the way.
saying that they are going to lose.
I really don't believe that. And I don't think we're going to say. I think that on Monday morning we're going to say that the Commanders looked more ready for prime time than the Packers. I really do. I think that the Commanders caused more of a problem. And if you ignore that fourth quarter of what Jaden Daniels did to this team, did to the number one defense in the NFL, I think you're being an Eagles homer. He ran all over you, and he threw all over you. in the fourth quarter. He was dangerous that day. Everything was off. The juju was off.
Oh, yeah.
It never should have been.
The second Hurts goes out, the juju was off.
But when that young man had a chance to win a game, he went out and won a game.
Yeah, and then he just stunk against Dallas for a half, who's a terrible football team.
Damn right, to the point where he got benched. All right, coming up next, we'll check our text line for the first time today. What makes you confident? Not what are you concerned by? What makes you confident that the Eagles will go into this game on Sunday hosting the Packers, the 14-win Eagles, and they're going to win and move on to the divisional round? You can text and call in 610-632-0975. But also, it's that time of the year, Johnny. Requests are coming in. We tell you what next. It's Kincade and Salciunas, 97.5 The Fanatic.
Mike Missanelli.
If you're saying that Tanner McKee can come in and win playoff games, then I'm with you.
It's 97.5 The Fanatic. We'll check our text line and our calls momentarily. You can check in at 610-632-0975. Our question for you today. Instead of doing the What are you concerned about narrative? Screw that, man. What are you confident in when it comes to the 14-3 Eagles hosting the Packers on Sunday?
I saved this for you guys to be able to spring it on you.
Love that.
What was Afternoon Drive talking about yesterday in Green Bay? What do you think the main topic of the show was? I think it's 14:30. What do you think the main topic was?
Is
and I actually
Jordan
listened
Love
in.
alive?
Okay. No, but what about, that was the biggest concern for them. They were stressing out, are they getting the true story on Jordan Love?
Do you wish they got
about
do you wish they got the 6th seed instead of the 7th seed?
The fact that they blew the 6 and didn't get it. That to them, even though the Commanders won.
Yeah.
So the host was saying, you weren't getting it anyway. They were all concerned going, you didn't have more urgency looking to put that thing away.
Yeah, they wish that they were playing Tampa.
They wished that they were going to Tampa. That's what they wanted.
Love
they
that.
wanted better weather conditions. They wanted a place where they knew they could take over a good section of the stadium with their fan base because Green Bay travels. They know they're not going to get many tickets here. That was what they were talking about.
Yep.
So they're concerned about us.
Yeah, so let's not be concerned about them. Real quick, before we get to our texts and calls, Kellen Moore, the New Orleans Saints have put in a request to interview Kellen Moore for their head coaching vacancy. So just a storyline to keep an eye on. Obviously, when your team is successful, coordinators typically get pilfered. We saw that just 2 years ago with both Shane Steichen and Jonathan Gannon. Steichen, of course, with the Colts, Gannon with the Cardinals. Something to keep an eye on, obviously. I don't know. Like, I don't worry about it.
I don't have the affection for Kellen Moore that I thought I would have this summer.
Oh, I'm not
And
even there. I don't think he's going to be, like, not focused. That's my
No,
biggest
I
thing.
believe he's going to be a complete professional if he
Yeah.
gets the opportunity. And supposedly there is big-time interest in him. So he is one of the top names on their list.
Yeah, that's a bad sign for next year. It doesn't mean anything for this year.
I don't
would
get
agree.
bothered by it. Like, the Eagles got to the Super Bowl with Shane Steichen and Jonathan Gannon. I don't think Jonathan Gannon mishandled some plays down the stretch.
He did not.
Because of interviews with the
If
Cardinals.
Jalen Hurts doesn't fumble, you had a Super Bowl program.
Yeah, exactly. And some other thing. If they
but-
don't allow Kadarius Toney to have the big punt return, that wasn't Jonathan Gannon's
No,
fault.
that was that
And
special team.
I'm not even the biggest Gannon guy. It's just I don't believe they lost
Correct.
the Super Bowl because he wasn't focused. Or Shane Steichen. Shane Steichen was focused. They put up a lot of points that game.
They were.
You know what I mean? I think they're just fine. All right, let's go to the calls before we go to the text. Our man, Provolone Joe. I haven't talked to him in a long time. What's up,
Joe?
Cheese Man?
Yo, guys, what's going on? Hey, if you flip this thing around and think about it, right? If I told you I'm going to give you the number one defense, I'm going to give you a team that's 2 years removed from a Super Bowl loss that they should have won, I'm going to give you a team with all these weapons, and I'm going to put you home in front of your home crowd. You're telling me you won't bet on that team? This is like, honestly, I don't even know why people are worried. I don't have the slightest worry in the world about this game. I'm looking forward. This is going to be an easy game for us, I think. And I look for the next round. I mean, honestly, there's nothing to worry about here.
But why do we do it, Joe? Like, you're a longtime Eagles fan. Like, why do people feel the need? And it's not just media asking the question, because that is, I believe, some of the culprit, the media asking the question. But I know that just from our own experience, whenever John and I speak positively about the Eagles, sometimes we get the pushback from Eagles fans saying, hey, hold on, don't jinx it, or you're too positive. This could go wrong. That could go wrong. Why is that?
You know what happens? I think that the past scars and the past hurt just sticks with us longer. I think that we're so invested that when something hurts us, which, I still look back to 2000 to 2004 with so much pain, but I'm not going to let that cloud my judgment today. But I think that a lot of people, that just sticks with them. Now I'm just going by, the newer generational crowd. I'm not even talking about the crowds from the 60s to 2000. I'm talking about, from 2000 on, you got this generation of people who just remember those scars and those pain, and it cuts deep. And I think that because we're so invested, we hold on to those losses a lot more. I still hate Barber.
Oh, so do
Yeah,
I. Yeah,
I hear you, Joe. Thanks for the call,
thanks,
brother.
Joe.
Great
Happy New
hearing
Year.
from you.
I agree with Joe, and again, you know how guys with a little snow on the roof like me will tend to blame the millennials for everything?
Yeah.
I blame us.
Oh, I've been doing that.
I take ownership. Generation X.
You trophy society. You gave us the trophies, John.
Generation X. Well, I didn't do that. That was our, as different parents. But no, as far as the mentality being passed along, I blame it very, very much on the idea of what was put the early Andy Reid era, when we were knocking on the door and not getting it done, and the 4 straight NFC title games. I tell you, I feel a lot of anguish from that too.
I get it.
Like there's a missed opportunity there. But I also feel a great level of joy that I lived it, because it was so crappy before then. And when I hear people of my generation, as I told you, speak of Buddy Ryan as some sort of a deity,
right?
I roll my eyes and say, what the hell are you, were you excited about regular season?
Yeah, Doug Peterson was the one that won.
My gosh. It's like, but more importantly, Buddy didn't even win a playoff game here.
Right.
Terrible.
I'm trying to change the tide. Cooper and I like to race to the stop sign at the end of the street. I smoke his rear end every single time.
And you should.
I say, yeah, get faster, kid.
And you know what you say? Someday when you beat Dad, it matters.
No, I'm going to have like a fast wheelchair.
No,
Don't worry, he ain't kicking my ass. Connor, what do we have on the text line about today's discussion?
Zach from Florida's got us leading off today. He says, I guarantee Green Bay media is saying, how do we slow these guys down? How do we put up more than 20 points on the Eagles? Because 20 isn't going to beat the Birds. I have no more worry for this game than I do any other game. This is not a juggernaut coming here. Good team, but let's keep it real. The Eagles are winning.
And I go back to the defense thing, right? Like, all of a sudden, there's fear of Jaden Reed and Romeo Dobbs. Who
Stop.
I like them. But
no, they're nice players.
It'd be nice 3 on this team. On this team, they would be the 3rd wide receiver on this team.
They absolutely would be. Neither one of them is starting on the left of the
Right, but nobody's disagreeing. Like, what people are doing is they see a well-built team. And what happens when you have something well-built? You don't focus on the things that are great. You focus on what the potential weaknesses are. You say, hey, well, how can I get this or not? Like, you have to focus on the weaker spots of the team. You have to focus on what could go wrong, because you might miss something if you're just looking at all the stuff we know they do well.
Thing is, though, Connor, I get the mentality there, but I truly believe that when you are the lead dog, when you are the best, you need to constantly want to improve and tighten up and everything. But I don't think the majority spent on the blemish on your face,
right?
When you're a 9.
Well, and that's why we played that clip from Nick Sirianni earlier today. We'll play it again. We'll play it again for you next. Nick Sirianni basically saying, "Hey, you got to keep doing what got you here." And what got you here? What is here, John? Say the record one more time for me.
They're 14-3.
Yeah, like, why are we doing this? Why are we doing this? Oh, but this could go wrong. That could go wrong. Everything that got them to 14-3 usually went right.
No, it was beautiful.
So let's keep it at that.
Fun. Yeah.
So you'll hear from Nick Sirianni coming up next. Also, we'll talk Jalen Hurts again, because people shivered down their spines yesterday when Adam Schefter put out a tweet, who we'll talk to tomorrow. Also, speaking of guests, we have a lot of them to get to today, and we can't wait for it. We'll tell you who's coming up with us today next, right here on Kincade and Salciunas on this Tuesday morning, the week of the wild card round, when the Eagles host the Packers Sunday at 4:30. We'll talk about it all day today, right here, 97.5 The Fanatic.
Fanatic Sports Update.
Sirianni talks differences. I'm Connor Thomas, and the Eagles are beginning their prep work for their wild card matchup with the Green Bay Packers. They started their season playing the Green Bay Packers in Week 1 in Brazil, but Nick Sirianni talked about how the teams are different from Game 1 to Game 18.
From Game 1 to Game 18, everyone's a different team. Now, obviously, there's things that are staples that have been good for them that remain the same, but, there's a lot of changes and a lot of differences.
So we'll find out what the Eagles have learned from their earlier matchup with Green Bay, if anything. We'll also keep an eye on the injury report, as Christian Watson, he tore his ACL. He's done for the year for the Packers. That is a major loss for them. The Sixers lost to the Suns last night at the Wells Fargo Center, 109-99. No Joel Embiid in this one. He has a sprained foot. Sixers play the Wizards at home on Wednesday. The Flyers play the Maple Leafs tonight at 7:30 p.m. in South Philly. You can hear that game live here on The Fanatic. We'll talk to Tony Dungy coming up at 8:25. Amy Fadool for the entire 9 o'clock hour. I'm Connor Thomas, and this is brought to you by CSB Media Arts Center in Cherry Hill. Discover your future at the CSB Media Arts Center in Cherry Hill. Skills-based training in broadcast media, filmmaking in a few months. Visit GoCSB.com for GoCSB.com. This is the home for 76ers and Flyers, 97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com.
Bill Colarulo.
The Packers are a...
the Fanatic. We'll check the text line coming up in a little bit also. John has a question for Eagles fans about what if Jordan Love was the quarterback for the Eagles. We'll discuss that to start the 7 o'clock hour. But
Time to get a haircut.
But we got to discuss this again. Adam Schefter put out a tweet yesterday that Jalen Hurts had still yet to pass concussion protocol.
Yep.
And that, of course, sent everybody down a spiral again.
Adam knows what he's doing.
Yeah.
He knows what he's doing.
They haven't practiced yet, John.
No, they haven't. So that's why he's not out of concussion protocol. Now, I guarantee you there will be a lot of breathless things talked about all week and written all week. I believe this will be a non-story by the time we're talking about it within 48 hours or so. This will be a complete non-story.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm not worried about this.
I promise you, if Jalen Hurts was not going to play this weekend, we would already know because it would have leaked. And the panic in this town would have been absolutely atrocious.
Oh, we'd be talking McKee versus Pickett.
Oh, my gosh.
All week.
And by the way, I understood yesterday where Mike Missanelli on my ride home was about to just say, could somebody give me a belt? Because this was like he was tired of the conversation. It's great what Tanner McKee did against a vanilla defense with half the starters out. That's great.
Yeah, a lot of fun.
It's awesome. It's fun. But please stop reading too much into it. Stop reading too much into it.
Yeah.
It was the most vanilla game plan.
Yeah.
It would have taken Saquon Barkley, it might have taken him 12 carries to get that record.
Right.
That was such a bad game.
This isn't you needed Nick Foles to win the Super
exactly.
Bowl. This is Tanner McKee
No.
played Week 18.
And by the way,
you know.
he's not Nick Foles. Nick Foles had already had a 27-2 season.
Yes.
Those type of things.
Yeah. I'm
We
with
get
you. But there is something you're annoyed by when it comes to the coach, when it comes to Jalen Hurts.
I don't. He doesn't have to make it so cryptic. He really doesn't.
Right.
He's not. He can't say he's out of concussion protocol, but he can say we're really looking forward to the week, and I guarantee you, Jalen Hurts has his head in the playbook right now.
Right. But he's
I'm
getting,
not saying
he's getting annoyed that he's even been asked about.
And so he's getting annoyed. So what he's doing is he's saying, and I truly believe this is what's happening. He's saying, you know what, F you guys. I'm so tired of you. Ask it like I've told you an answer. He can't give you the answer you want. He can't tell you all that's going on. So instead, he then is going to be super cryptic to just sort of mess with you.
Yeah, probably, yeah.
And so that's what's going on.
It's freaking people out.
And it would be easy. Coach, I know you listen because many times we've gotten proof of that the next day in the press conference. When you're listening today, listen to me on this. It's easy to just say, you know Jalen Hurts. I guarantee you his head's in the playbook or in the video room right now. I guarantee you he's studying the Packers right now.
You don't have to say that he's obviously doing Oklahoma drills.
No, just say I guarantee you this. Jalen Hurts, you know how much he loves a big game. You know how much he loves a big week. He is prepping so hard right now. He's studying everything he could possibly study.
Or they can just have him do the test, and we could just end it at that.
No, I wouldn't do that. The thing is, though, there's no need to do that. So I would not do that.
I would imagine.
I would imagine.
He'll pass.
Yeah, I would imagine he's passing.
It's just a guess.
And I promise you this, if he wasn't passing, there are 50-some bodies in that room. There are members of the media that are well-connected with staff members.
They'd be out by now.
Somebody would be whispering, uh-oh, major problem.
And that's our one bit of Nick Sirianni criticism today.
That's it. The only critique.
Other than that, we love him today.
Nick had his best soundbite ever.
Let's play it for you. Again, our topic today for you to chime in on at 610-632-0975. Instead of asking the question of, what are you concerned about going into Sunday? Screw that. What are you confident about going into Sunday that they will win this game against the Packers? They are 14-3. And yesterday, Nick Sirianni talked about sticking with what's gotten you here.
The higher the stakes get, as we get into single elimination football, the more you got to stay committed to the things you've done on a daily basis to get 14 wins. I think that's been my biggest thing is like, all right, what can you do different here now? Or not, and it's not even different, and it always comes back to what got you here, what got you 14 wins. That doesn't mean you're not looking to improve on the things that you can do better at, which is exactly what we're doing and trying to shore up every single thing we possibly can. But what are the core things that got you to this situation? When everybody's talking about single elimination football, what happens this? Well, what happens in 3 weeks if you do this or that, blah, 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 that we stay committed to completely what we're doing. It's what we've tried to do all year, and that's the point, right, is what's gotten you to the number 2 seed and, stick to those principles, tough, detailed together, and really double, triple, quadruple down on those things.
And
single elimination football, by the way, he's created a new term because I've never heard anyone in football use that term.
I just know win and go home.
Yes, win or go home, single elimination. I don't know. I just never heard that.
But hey, look.
Nick's a wordsmith.
He is. And you know what? They're 14-3.
He can say whatever he wants about it.
Stick with what's been working, and what's been working is a great ground game and a great defense, and the defense is what will slow down this Packers offense that people are all of a sudden talking themselves into being scared about. Jaden Reed and Romeo Doubs would not even be the number 2 wide receiver on the Eagles football team.
There are some media members, though, who are pushing this.
I know they are.
And I believe that they're pushing it for content.
You're listening to 97.5 The Fanatic, WPEN and WPEN HD1 Burlington, Philadelphia, Beasley Media Group station, broadcasting live from the Comcast Business Studio, powering possibilities.
I think they're saying this is the playbook. I talk about it early in the week and give them all the reason and get the fear talked up or write about it or discuss it and then later in the week
you hit him with the hammer.
Then we come back and
hit
go,
him with the green hammer.
Listen, they went on a 10-game winning streak this year. Just place yourself in the shoes of someone who was writing the story of this Eagles-Packers game today. What are you going to write? Saquon Barkley's great. Yeah, we know. A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith are unstoppable.
Write the truth.
Yeah, we got it.
Speak the truth.
Then write.
Speak what you truly feel.
But there's nobody out there saying the Eagles aren't a great football team and aren't better than the Packers.
There are people that are all of a sudden fear-mongering that the Packers got the bad draw. This is the team that could beat them early on. This is the team that could send them home early. Meanwhile, the Eagles just lost to the Commanders. I get it because Jalen Hurts got hurt. You would think that would be the fear-mongering, but no, it's the Packers. Out of nowhere, people are fearful of the Packers. And as you have mentioned multiple times, any chance they had a big game that they had a chance to win, they lost. And who did they lose to in week 1?
And they get
Eagles.
And they trailed by in almost all of their big games this year. They're trailing by 3 scores.
Yeah, they're
not playing close games.
They're not losing this game. But we've talked about how great this Eagles team has been for about 3 months now. I think people are you're at a point where now it's win or go home. And you know what you believe about the positives of this team. So what you look at are, what are the things we may have missed? What are the things Green Bay could do differently? What are the things? You're not scared of an opponent until you face them face to face.
Well, here's what I'd say to that, Connor, is that they can't argue. No one can argue the threat of Green Bay by using facts because they don't have a better passing game. They don't have a better running game. They don't have a better defense. They don't have a better quarterback. So, in other words, you're just creating stuff to create blah blah into the air.
There's no boogeyman in the closet.
There is no if you said to me, Connor, they're coming in, you went, you know what? This team has a prolific passing game. Then I'd be like, okay, let's have the conversation.
No, I know this, but the general public doesn't dive as deep into this as we do. They don't read all this stuff.
Yeah, but the people who supply them with their content are supposed to.
Because I would argue that at this point in the year, people are much more interested in how the Eagles could go home than how the Eagles are going to
more interested in how they can win the Super Bowl than how they can go home.
How they can win the Super Bowl, guys. It's Saquon and Jalen and AJ and this amazing defense.
Let's keep talking about it.
Then you talk about that.
I'm not going to create some bull.
You're creating.
You're not creating bull. You're just checking the weak spots.
Some people create bull, and
they're creating.
Yes, and I'm not talking about them.
No, but they're creating a talking points on a team that doesn't. I can tell you this. You can go to. I think it's WTEM. I'm not mistaken. You can find it if you get on one of those radio apps that has all the stations. Go listen to Green Bay Radio talk about their team. And I promise you this, that team will be talked about higher here in this market this week than they're being talked about in their own market.
Right, and they should be. But that's the way you evaluate a postseason opponent. You give them more respect than they're due so you don't miss anything.
I think Connor's bored by the show.
I completely
Connor would rather us ask the question.
I completely
will
disagree
the Eagles lose and how will they lose? 610-632-0975.
What I'm saying.
I disagree completely that would be the.
What do we have on the text line there, Connor? 610-632-0975.
All right, let me go ahead and pull it up here. So John V checks in, says, I'm totally on board with you guys, but to play devil's advocate, the national media also never believes in Philly sports. It's not just the Birds, it's all 4 teams, and sometimes that affects the perspective of the fan base.
I saw yesterday, I forget, it was one of the first take people saying the Eagles are still the team to win the Super Bowl.
The Eagles NFL Live yesterday. Two of the cast members, the Eagles are the best team in the NFC. So I don't believe that. Again, that's that whole underdog crap that people are trying to dig up. Find somebody in the national media who doesn't think the Eagles are going to the Super Bowl and then be like, everybody's against us.
Hungry dogs run faster,
Nobody
baby.
believes in us. It's such bull poopy. Just stop worrying about it.
Hungry dogs run faster.
By the way, can I say something that I didn't say yesterday and I forgot?
You didn't like the show.
It was horrible.
I saw a lot of bad reviews. I didn't watch.
I did. And I waited and taped it. I'm surprised that they didn't put more work into that show for Jason Kelce.
It was the first show. We'll see if it gets better.
Dude, if the first show is that concept, it's not hitting. It's just not hitting.
Well, if you keep on going guess heavy,
yeah.
You could. There's going to be
mean,
it's like you guys love the Manning cast.
No, the Manning cast is, I can tell you this, the Manning cast is 5 times funnier.
Yeah.
5 times funnier.
I don't need to watch something I don't need to watch. You know what I mean?
I tried to see it because it's Jason, and we all love Jason.
I love Jason Kelce. I don't need to love him more or less.
Nah, yeah, exactly.
I love Jason Kelce.
Yeah, it wasn't good.
Period. All right, coming up next, Packers got the official word on one of their top players. We'll talk about that next. Also, I'll give you the rundown of our guests today because we have some great people coming on to talk about the Eagles and then, of course, Sunday's matchup with the Packers. We'll discuss that with you next. It's Kincade and Salciunas on this Tuesday morning, 97.5 The Fanatic.
Andrew DeCecco.
When you look at what the Eagles have, they are the top defense in the NFL. They have a very...
app. You know they've got pre- and post-game shows with Seth Joyner and Derek Gunn live at Parks Casino every game day. Got to be 21. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
It is 7-11 on Kincade and Salciunas, 97.5 The Fanatic. Here on this Tuesday morning, the week of the wild card round when the Eagles battle the Green Bay Packers this Sunday at 4:30. Now, we got a busy day today that I can't wait for. Our man, agreement with Andrew Salciunas, head coach, Hall of Fame head coach, Tony Dungy.
Yeah, he agreed with you last week.
Big fan of me.
No, he agreed with you last week, and he told me that I was completely wrong.
And that was, of course, about starting the players.
And he even put it into a tweet, which I really appreciated, and I told Coach so. I really
Did you get a bunch of random responses?
Yeah, I did.
Of like non-Eagles fans, too, that just wanted to chime in?
Well, they see Coach Dungy takes a talking head to task.
Yeah.
And they were all living. I'm like, thanks a lot, Coach.
Well, I know
Thought we were boys.
The narrative for the non-Eagles fan was the 17-game thing.
Yes.
Every non-Eagles fan that hates the Eagles and wants Saquon to not break a record, everyone said the 17-game thing. So Tony Dungy is going to be joining us coming up at 8:25, and it's a Tuesday. So Amy Fadool will be joining us for the entire 9 o'clock hour, which we're excited for. Haven't really had the chance to talk to Amy much recently because of the holiday schedule. And same with our man, Jeff McLane. We're still working on time. As we mentioned to you guys yesterday, we have new commercial breaks. So we're making some adjustments as the show goes on because we had a bit of a formula going on, but now we're making some changes here. So we're still trying to work on time with our man, Jeff McLane.
Shorter commercial breaks, more content.
More content, 16 segments as opposed to 12. So there's more John and Andrew. I'm sure everybody was begging for that to happen.
I don't know that was the case, but that's what management decided.
Yes, and hey, sure, if they're making the decisions, we'll go with it.
Yes.
All right, so the Packers got bad word on Christian Watson, ACL. He's done for the season and could miss some time next year.
Whenever I see hands to the face, I always think it's terrible.
Especially after non-contact.
And on the cart like that
oh my
season
gosh.
over. That sucks for him.
So he's done. He's had like an up and down season this year.
He hasn't had the season that they expect.
No, I mean, remember I said before the season, going into week one, that the guy that I think would end up being the best receiver on that team is Jaden Reed. Now, Romeo Doubs had a good season when healthy as well. But now that you lose Christian Watson, you lose your deep threat. Romeo Doubs can do stuff downfield, as can Jaden Reed. But Jaden Reed's more of the underneath guy, the guy that you get the ball. It's kind of like Devontae Smith. You get the guy, get the ball in space, and you let him do some things after having the ball in his hands. Romeo Doubs is... If I were to compare the two, Romeo Doubs is A.J. Brown, Jaden Reed is Devontae Smith. They're just nowhere near as talented as both of those guys.
They're the generic version you get at Walmart.
Absolutely.
They're the generic
They're
version.
not even Walmart brand A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith.
No,
there are levels to this.
Yeah, I got it. I think they're generic brand. I think these guys aren't. I don't think they're scrubs.
Yeah, they're not scrubs. They're good,
generic,
but they're nowhere near A.J. Brown.
Brand.
Like I have no worries that Darius Slay is going to have issues, or that Quinyon Mitchell's going to struggle, or that Cooper DeJean is going to struggle. Like I don't believe that to be the case, which is why the fear mongering of the Packers has been confusing me. Because we're ignoring the fact that the Eagles' defense is number one.
It's not based in any fact. It's based in like, whoa, well, what if this happened? Scenarios that are just absolutely not based in. Just watching what the team has done and what they have not been able to do.
By the way, I got to rip. I know we rip these guys all the time.
What's that?
The Twitter engagement farmer guys. Your boy, the Dove Kleiman.
Well, Dove Kleiman's not even real. He's not a real person.
He puts out the Jalen Hurts. Jalen Hurts is still in concussion protocol tweet.
Well, that was after Adam Schefter did.
Right. But he says prayers. Eagles quarterback Jalen Hurts is still in concussion protocol with the 3 praying hand emojis. And it's like, come on, man. Like,
will you stop it?
I know what you're doing, and you're doing it well.
Well, he is.
Obviously,
I think Tom Brady's very proud of himself with what he's created with Dove Kleiman. With Dove Kleiman.
You're obsessed with the Dove Kleiman's Tom Brady.
Well, Dove Kleiman is not real.
Finkel is Einhorn.
Dove Kleiman is not a real person.
Yes, I know that to be true.
And there was, when Dove Kleiman was coming to his ascension into people knowing who it was all about the TB12 story.
Ah, okay.
And had all the inside information on TB12 and the fight with Bill Belichick and the fight with Dad. And it was long speculated at that point that Tom Brady may have been the one. How would all this information be getting out? And then it's a nice hey, nice way to make a little side.
Oh my God! Yeah,
hustle.
with the engagement farmer, they're making
Sure.
tons of money.
I don't think
Definitely.
Tom Brady needs a Twitter account.
No, I don't think it's
know,
Tom
dude.
Brady's Twitter account.
Dude, I'm just saying the cryptocurrency didn't work out for him.
Let's just say
Neither did the marriage.
Just say it
there's,
didn't work.
there's a lot of
Wow.
He's
Wait a
paying
minute.
no. Look, there's a lot of money that's
What a
going out the
low
window.
blow.
No, I'm not saying he was a bad husband. She clearly was fooling around a little bit. I'm just saying there's a lot of money that's going out the window. Maybe he needed the Twitter account, Connor.
And she's the cheater.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, it's
I'm not
seriously.
saying he was to blame.
I mean, she's richer.
Come on, man.
And she is rich.
exactly. Yeah, she is.
That's crazy.
So he
to
might
me.
need the engagement farming. We don't know. Hey, is Tom going to come on the show with us this week?
Come on, Tom.
Not anymore. He's not.
All right.
Wait. And look, I've tried to broker this. I've tried to broker this through Kevin Burkhardt.
Yeah, I know you have.
But then also, I've got the 1 degree of separation from Brady. His best friend is Jay Feely.
Right.
So I'm like their best friends. So I'm like, I've tried to work that angle too.
I appreciate your efforts.
But it just doesn't seem like it works.
This is not working. All right, real quick. You had a question for Eagles fans, what if Jordan Love was the quarterback for the Eagles?
Yeah. What would be honestly, if Jordan Love was our quarterback, you know how people constantly love to pick apart Jalen Hurts, and they do. I mean, let's be honest. I don't think that it's a crazy thing to say that Jalen Hurts gets really picked apart in this town.
Yeah.
Some of it is earned. Some of it is legit criticism.
Right.
But overall, for a guy who's won as much as he's won, Jalen Hurts gets picked apart. I just want you to, at some point today, every Eagles fan, to just go side by side. Here's Jalen Hurts. Here is Jordan Love. And if you just do the side by side, you can do it at stathead.com. It's a real simple thing. You can type in Jalen Hurts versus Jordan Love head-to-head stats comparison. Jordan Love is not Jalen Hurts in any universe. In any universe. And more importantly, in big games against big-time quarterbacks, like where he's managed to have a win over a Mahomes, a win over a Josh Allen, a win over a Burrow, a win over... Compare Jordan Love to Jalen Hurts, and it will make your head spin to go, wow, why are we so tough on Jalen Hurts? Now, he has great talent around him. No questions asked. But when you compare Jordan Love to Jalen Hurts, it's really not close, folks. Jalen dwarfs him in everything.
Yeah, and by the way, if Jordan Love wasn't great here after all the waiting that Green Bay did,
my
we would
gosh.
be losing our mind. I waited all this time for this?
It's crazy.
Jalen Hurts is more of a surprise than anything else, right? Second
Yes.
round pick. He was supposed to be the backup to Carson Wentz, and look at the success this team has had. All right, so coming up next, we check the text line at 610-632-0975. Also, I wonder if people realize how good we have it, John.
We do
Hearing
have it
what
good.
some of the owners said yesterday, to what we have here, it should make you feel great. We're going to have some fun with the New York Football Giants and a couple other teams next. It's Kincade and Salciunas, 97.5 The Fanatic.
Fanatic Sports Update.
What's changed since week 1? I'm Connor Thomas, and this update's brought to you by Groundworks, your expert for basement waterproofing and foundation repairs since 1997. Book your free inspection at groundworks.com. The Eagles are prepping for their matchup with the Green Bay Packers in the wild card round, and they saw Green Bay way back in week 1. So what has changed since the last time these teams have faced off? Well, Nick Sirianni brings up that it could be a lot.
From game 1 to game 18, everyone's a different team. Now, obviously, there's things that are staples that have been good for them that remain the same, but, there's a lot of changes and a lot of differences.
So we'll see if the Eagles can solve that mystery between now and Sunday at 4:30 p.m., game time for the wild card round. What has changed for sure, Christian Watson done for the year, a torn ACL for Green Bay, so they lose a big receiver for the wild card game and the playoffs. The Sixers lost to the Suns last night at the Wells Fargo Center, 109-99. Joel Embiid was out with a foot sprain. Sixers play the Wizards at home tomorrow night. The Flyers play the Maple Leafs tonight at 7:30 in South Philly. You can hear that game live here on the Fanatic. We'll talk to Tony Dungy at 8:25, Amy Fadool at 9 a.m. for the entire 9 o'clock hour. This update's also brought to you by Cordell and Cordell. A domestic litigation firm is a partner you can count on. Call 866-323-7529 or visit cordell.com. I'm Connor Thomas from the home of the 76ers and Flyers, 97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com.
The playoff Playoffs are here. Philadelphia plays Green Bay in the wild card round this weekend. Andrew Salciunas, Bill Colarulo, and Connor Thomas. We've got extensive coverage with the Birds Insider pregame show presented by FanDuel Sportsbook, America's #1 sportsbook. Make every moment more. Promo code pregame. Philadelphia's source for breaking sports news. 97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com.
You better have that BetParx app fired up.
Salciunas, 97.5, The Fanatic. Let's check our text line before we get into owners around the NFL and why you should feel great about being an Eagles fan. But our main topic today, for you to answer at 610-632-0975. We're trying to go against the norm, Johnny. Everybody asks the question. I heard it all over the place in the city. Radio stations, TV stations, print, online, podcasts. What are you concerned about going into the game on Sunday? How about enough of that?
Ooh.
And how about we discuss what we are confident about going into Sunday, about why they will beat the Packers, because they should beat the Packers, because they will beat the Packers.
What's great is that I'm even seeing in whether it's DMs or whether it's commentary, other and people responding to the tweets, a lot of positivity.
Good.
A lot of people saying yes.
Because they're 14-3. There should be positivity. Enough with the Romeo Dobbs and Jaden Reed. I got the number one defense in the NFL. I get it. Jalen Hurts is a little rusty. You know what's good to have when you're rusty? A great running game and a great offensive line. The Eagles have all of that, and it's at Lincoln Financial Field. Enough with the fear-mongering, please.
Where are you seeing, though, that people...
Everywhere!
No,
oh, my gosh.
Well, let me at least ask the damn question. Where are you seeing that people are saying the Eagles are losing this game?
That's not what we're saying.
It's the, what are you concerned about? All I'm trying to do is, instead of what are you concerned about, how about what are you confident about? What are you positive about? What do you think will win the game instead of what could go wrong?
This would I put it this way, and I'm going to steal this. Scott, one of our listeners, sends along this email to me. And I think it speaks directly to what Connor and we were talking about there. Imagine the U.S. generals being in a room, and the U.S. generals say, we've got a threat. Mexico is looking to invade us. And the U.S. general said, well, where are we vulnerable? Where can Mexico hurt us? And not just looking at it as we could crush Mexico. The first thing you've got to do is say, how are we going to just crush them? Not, ooh, I wonder how they're going to manage to hurt us. That you start with what you're good at and then worry about making sure you plugged any holes. By the way, Scott, ex-military, thank you for your service.
Thank you for your service,
Appreciate
Scott.
you very much. He now teaches. And he says, and honestly, teaching in our public school system sometimes seems more dangerous than Afghanistan. He says, you try dealing with 7th grade and 8th grade boys.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure that's tough,
Oh, my
man.
gosh.
I am sure
Can you
that's
imagine
tough.
that?
I was one of them before.
Middle school boys, God bless you, Scott, and thanks for your service, man. We appreciate you listening.
Connor, you were, John's life is a little bit different than ours in terms of age.
Yes.
Was your gym locker room the Axe body spray locker room?
No sense of smell, my guy.
Yeah,
Remember,
but I'm
he's not-
asking.
I guess.
Because, dude,
I don't know.
it would be so bad because every dude had the Axe body spray.
Well, yeah.
The chocolate, the regular. And then there's 17 different fragrances just battling with one another inside a tight little locker room that 7th and 8th grade kids smell like you know what.
Never bothered me.
Because we went too hard at gym. Well, of course it didn't bother you because you can't smell.
You can't
Our biggest
smell.
problem is we hit a stick of deodorant with a baseball bat and it exploded all over the locker room. We got in trouble for that.
Probably
one.
got in trouble
See,
for
now
that.
ours was more of the when Speed Stick was just becoming like a thing. You know, deodorant that had a different fragrances was just becoming a thing. That was about it. We didn't have the fancy body sprays and everything. If you had that,
You also put down your clubs at that time.
your head's going in a toilet. If you brought Axe body spray back in the 80s,
Oh, dude.
your head's going in the
Everything
toilet.
was Axe body spray. It was ridiculous.
We're a
man.
little less.
I wasn't an Axe body spray guy. My
I'm
mom.
glad.
No. My mom found one over the clearance rack.
What was hers?
I don't remember
What you
what
got
it's
for
called, but it was like I once had AIs. It was Andre Iguodala's.
Oh, wow.
I didn't have Allen Iverson's. I had Andre Iguodala's off the clearance rack at Sports Authority.
Hey, man, you ask Max Kellerman. That's a great shoe to have.
Damn right, man. If there's anybody in the world that would need to make a shot to save the planet, he would
I
go with
want
Andre
Iguodala.
Iguodala. Unbelievable.
Oh man.
All right, what do we got on the text line, Connor?
All right, so we have a check in here from Bobby in Chalfont, who brings up that he's confident the offense is going to achieve a postseason rushing record, a happy side effect of Saquon being the selfless player he's been all year and being rested from Week 18. Everyone blocks harder for him that he did not get the record. Take it to the bank.
Yeah, look, he's going to be great on Sunday. I just know it. And that's why, yesterday when we were talking about at the beginning of the show, it's good to just talk Eagles again. because we had been talking records.
Sure.
We had been talking Jalen Hurts and concussion and can he throw the football before that, blah, blah, blah. It's nice to just be able to talk Eagles football again and how the Eagles match up with the Packers and how the Eagles are better than the Packers. And Saquon Barkley having that week off. I know he sounded like he wanted to go for the record. He made it pretty clear he wanted to go for the record.
Right.
He did also say that rest is good. And Nick Sirianni believes that rest is good. And imagine Saquon Barkley just having a little extra ounce of speed, a little extra ounce of power. Same with your offensive line. That just goes a long way for them.
It does. And look, everybody who was arguing my side of the ball last week on wanting to go for the record, if they had half a brain, can acknowledge that the rest has the potential to be a huge advantage coming up this week especially.
Absolutely.
We'll see what happens.
We have it good here in Philadelphia, Johnny.
We do.
I know people don't like to admit it sometimes because the lack of championships.
We
I
haven't
understand
had
it.
many championships.
But we have it good here, especially with Jeffrey Lurie owning the Philadelphia Eagles. If you just paid attention to the rest of the league yesterday of the teams that are out of the playoffs, you would see the dysfunction that is around the NFL. There are very, very good football teams. There are also very, very, very bad football teams and bad organizations. The Patriots, obviously not a bad organization when they're coming off of a dynasty. But the firing of Gerard Mayo, which was strange. I don't know what they expected in year one of him.
It was a mess, even from the beat writers, though. That team was a mess all year.
Yeah.
And there was a lot of...
Maybe he's not the head coach.
Yeah.
I get it. There's probably a reason why.
I appreciate the idea that move on quickly.
But
if you think you did,
I know Robert Kraft has to say the right things, but he drops the line of, he's going to be a great head coach in this league.
Uh-huh.
Well, if you think that, then why are you firing him?
He's not ready now.
Maybe that's what it is.
He appeared this year. Dan Orlovsky said it yesterday. He was taking some abuse about it. Look, that team did not look prepared many, many weeks.
Okay.
And that is he's could be a little overmatched. Doesn't mean he's not terrible. Bill Belichick was mediocre in his first job.
Right,
mediocre.
exactly.
And
then
ended
he
up
won't
being
be
great.
a bad head coach.
Correct.
Right. But what was probably even worse was what was going on in New York with the Giants. So John Mara, we have a compilation of clips here for you. Here's the owner of the New York Giants. After it was announced during this show, we broke the news to you that Brian Dable and Joe Shane would both be staying with the Giants. John Mara, it's not like he then gave them a great ringing endorsement during his press conference.
Did these guys come back on the hot seat now? You guys are going to have them number one on the hot seat going forward. So no matter how I answer that question, in your mind, we're going to have to see. I'm going to have to be in a better mood this time next year than I am right now.
John, what is your message to Giants fans who are very frustrated right now?
Nobody's more frustrated and upset than I am. I appreciate the fact that they have hung in there with us. I get your frustration. I feel your pain. But I still believe this is the right decision for us going forward.
How long will it take to improve the product, John?
It better not take too long, Bruce, because I've just about run out of patience.
So Bruce Beck getting the inside skinny there. I can feel Mara's one of the better owners, they think, as far as stability and things like that.
Yeah.
I'm floored. I am absolutely floored.
This ownership group is the one that kept Daniel Jones and extended him and gave him a ton of money.
That is correct.
This ownership group is the one that drafted, they had their, pants pulled down with the Kadarius to the Devontae Smith trade up. They weren't ready for it.
They weren't ready for it. They got ambushed by
Tony, who they end up having to trade away because he hated it there.
Yep.
I don't understand how, as an owner, you can bring a guy back, two guys back, and then in your press conference, I get it. Maybe he's trying to light a little fire in them. Do you think they're not trying? They're trying.
They're just not qualified.
They just might not be good.
I look at the fact is, too, and I look at it with you guys, and I look at both of you, is that you guys can appreciate Jeffrey Lurie very much and saying he's a good owner. But those of us who are and have been around before he got here, you don't understand how bad Eagles ownership was.
Yeah.
You don't understand when the Eagles franchise was almost moving to Phoenix because the owner was spending too much time down in Atlantic City losing his shirt.
Yeah.
You don't remember Norman Brayman, the car dealer from Miami that owned this team, that didn't give one flip about this city.
Yeah.
He just wanted to own an NFL team. Mr. Lurie has been a blessing to this town.
It's been amazing. And one
Huge
more,
blessing.
Shad Khan, the owner of the Jags, his press conference wasn't like good or bad yesterday. It was just kind of like, eh. Like, I can't imagine being a Jags fan.
How's he keeping Trent Baalke?
Well, that's one thing.
I thought Baalke hasn't been good since Perfect Stranger.
Now,
See, I've been saving that.
Good work by you.
Forever.
I didn't realize. Hear what he said before the season started? Shad Khan said that this was the best Jags team ever assembled.
Oh, wow. No.
It's good to have Jeffrey Lurie as the owner of the Philadelphia
It
Eagles.
is. Congratulations.
All right, coming up next, we get back to our main topic. We check the text line. Also, Nick Sirianni did a little dancing at his press conference yesterday. We play a clip about the quarterback next. It's Kincade and Salciunas, 97.5 The Fanatic.
It's time for Birds Playoff Conversation.
I feel better about this crew going into the playoffs than I did 20.
Tuesday morning here on Kincade Salciunas, 97.5 The Fanatic. Hope you have a safe drive into work today with the new.
Look at you
with the new commercial breaks. I got to find a different time to do it.
I like that.
You know what I mean? Because we don't start the 8 o'clock hour coming out of commercial. We are already coming out of commercial around 7:55.
Sure,
the
we're all over
new
the
commercial
place.
breaks, man. So here's what we got coming up on the show. Still, Jeff McLane will be joining us at 8:10. So normal time for Jeff McLane. Jeff joins us at 8:10. Tony Dungy, the coach, will be joining us at 8:25, and Amy Fadool will be with us for the entire 9 o'clock hour today, which we always love our hours with Amy. It's always a lot of fun. We also have a pair of Sixers tickets, two pairs, of Sixers tickets to give away today. What we'll do for the first pair will be Know the Coach, as Connor came up with during the break. Listen to the Tony Dungy interview coming up at 8:25, and then something will be said during it, and we will ask the question during the following segment. We'll come up with another fun way to win the other pair of tickets, but we have two pairs of tickets to give away for the Sixers who battle Washington tomorrow. The Wizards on the Wednesday night at the Wells Fargo Center. Single game tickets are on sale now. Sixers lost last night to the Suns. Joel Embiid did not play.
Another new ailment, right?
Rest, man.
No, it was another new ailment.
Foot sprain.
Rest.
Yes, it's amazing.
Rest.
It's just amazing.
Rest.
Not believed to be serious.
Hey, they tied the Eagles, man. That's what what we were asking for. They did just that. All right, before we get back,
I'm glad that lousy weird bet discussion paid off and nobody winning.
Yeah, it was a push.
I like that. It was a push.
It was a push. And by the way, don't look now. The Philadelphia 76ers are
6 games
11th.
under 500?
Yeah, but they're 11th. So they're almost a playing team.
Oh, my gosh.
They're 3 wins back of the Bulls, baby. Bring on the Sixers.
Woo!
Don't look now. All right, before we get back to our text messages. So yesterday, Nick Sirianni had his Monday press conference, his day after press conference, and he did some dancing.
He danced?
He was asked about the quarterback, and no, he was not asked about Jalen Hurts. That's not what I'm getting at here, because he can't talk about Jalen Hurts until he's out of protocol. He's getting through protocol. Competitive advantage. Here's Nick Sirianni when he was asked about QB2 between Kenny Pickett and Tanner McKee.
Hey, Nick, with the way Tanner's played the last couple of weeks and with Kenny's injury, any thought to making Tanner the backup as you enter the playoffs?
I got a lot of confidence in both the guys. I think, when Kenny's had to play, he's played really well. When Tanner's had to play, he's played really well. And so, we got a really good room. Obviously, Jalen has had an outstanding season. So we just have a great room. Credit to Howie and his staff of getting these guys in here, and then just a great job by these guys and taking advantage of their opportunities, and great job by Kevin, Doug, helping these guys develop. And so we feel really, really good about the room of where we are.
Did he answer the question, John?
No, he didn't. But I don't think Kenny Pickett is the backup quarterback on this team.
Yes.
Period. There is no quarterback controversy within the Eagles. Kenny Pickett is the guy that they will go to.
You surprised he didn't just say that?
Yes. Because I think if he said it, I feel like Nick thought he would be discrediting a moment of shine for Tanner McKee. There is no controversy if Jalen Hurts wasn't able to play. And Kenny Pickett's, and I'm going to assume Kenny Pickett's ribs were fine. I was told by someone that I really trust the other day that if Kenny Pickett had needed to play last Sunday, he would have played. If he had needed, that they had needed him in any way for that game, that Kenny Pickett could have played.
He played through the broken ribs just the previous week.
Yes, so
mostly.
He did.
Yeah, that's right.
The thing too, he doesn't want to implicate himself. We've been talking about what are they going to do with the backup position in the offseason. He doesn't want to say anything that implicates either one of those guys that you could move on from in the future.
Correct. And you don't want to discredit like the one and go, if you were looking, let's say in the offseason, you wanted to see, hey, I wonder if somebody will flip for McKee, what we could get for him. You don't want to make it look like, oh, no.
Yeah, something on tape like he's clear third string.
Yeah, exactly. You don't want anything like that.
Right.
And by the way, again, credit to Nick Sirianni. Nick had a great day yesterday.
He did have a good press conference yesterday.
He had a great day yesterday.
Got to applaud him, man.
Yes.
Other than the Jalen Hurts, the concussion thing.
No. I mean, he could have handled that a little differently, but no.
I think he's getting annoyed with people.
I think he should. You know what's honestly, though, is he should be annoyed by all of us sometimes.
No, but you know what?
Sometimes.
If you don't ask the question, then we're annoyed that nobody asked
No. I understand that. Everyone's doing their job.
Right.
Nobody's inappropriately doing it.
All right, what do we have on the text line, Connor? Our question today at 610-632-0975. Instead of asking, what are you concerned about going to Sunday? What are you confident about going to Sunday that they will beat the Packers, which we are expecting them to do on this show? So why all of a sudden ask a question about the opposite? What do we got?
Dave in Philly is a little upset with me. He says, tell Connor, a.k.a. Chicken Little, the sky ain't going to be falling this Sunday.
And I don't think that's what you're doing.
Not at all. I think the Eagles win this game by a touchdown.
I think you are just being more cautious and you're trying to check every box.
Exactly. That's the thing. I'm not just rolling into this game saying, well, the Eagles are infallible, they're invincible. And I know that's not what you guys are saying either, but I'm not rolling into this game with this false sense of security that postseason football can't have weird things happen.
Oh, weird things can happen.
Connor's just a little wimpier than us guys.
Yeah, Chicken Little. As the texter said, Chicken Little, which I believe you've called John Chicken Little at one point on this show.
I have. You're next, buddy.
You know what happens?
Nah, man, I'm
Chicken
testy.
Little always usually sort of works out.
That's true.
Remember, things aren't important until they're important.
He hit that home run in that movie.
There we go.
Come on, man. What else we got?
We also have a check-in here. Let me just go ahead and pull this one up. No name. Oh, Bradley in South Carolina. Sorry. He says, how dare you talk about fear-mongering when you guys were so fearful of someone getting hurt last week? What do you expect the fan base to react to that with?
Whoa. He better address that to the proper people.
Okay, well, people on this show.
Okay, say Andrew and Connor.
So that's completely different. I'm not talking about an injury. I'm talking about a game.
This is a game.
And whether or not the Eagles will win or lose, I believe the Eagles will win. So I'm going to then do a topic based off of why they're going to win instead of why they could lose.
I love that.
Saquon Barkley, there is a chance of injury. And again, not just Saquon. Everybody on the offensive line.
Absolutely.
Jalen Hurts would have probably been out there as well if you were playing Saquon Barkley for the record. So I wanted to get rid of risk, right? We were talking about risk versus reward. There's no risk versus reward when it comes to playoffs. It's just win or lose.
No question.
And I believe they're going to win. And so I want to talk about why they will win as opposed to why they could lose.
And that's absolutely what we're going to do.
Get out of here.
Brothers in
South
arms.
Carolina.
No.
Big South Carolina
nice.
fan, though. I do love South Carolina.
I'd like to play some golf.
If you ever want me to visit, I will. All right.
They have big palmetto bugs, though.
I don't know what the hell that is. I thought that was a cheese.
They're like a southern roach, and they are giant, and they fly.
Is that not a cheese?
No, it's a palmetto bug, and they're scary as hell. If you don't like roaches, you'll hate palmetto bugs.
All right, coming up next, we'll check some more text messages. We'll reset the show. Also, we'll do today's headlines with Connor Thomas at 7:55. It is Kincade and Salciunas on this Tuesday morning. Jeff McLane joining us at 8:10 right here on 97.5 The Fanatic.
Fanatic Sports Update.
Preparing for the Packers. I'm Connor Thomas and the Eagles. They have started their prep for the matchup with Green Bay in the wild card round of the NFC postseason. Nick Sirianni talked yesterday about how teams have changed from game 1 to game 18.
From game 1 to game 18, everyone's a different team. Now, obviously, there's things that are staples that have been good for them. Remain the same, but there's a lot of changes and a lot of differences.
So we'll see in game 18 for the Packers and the Eagles this weekend. What are the differences? One of the main ones, Christian Watson, a torn ACL. He is done for the year for Green Bay, so a big loss for them as they prepare for a trip to Philadelphia. The Sixers lost to the Suns last night at the Wells Fargo Center, 109-99. Joel Embiid did not play. He's got a foot sprain. He's listed as day-to-day. Sixers play the Wizards at home tomorrow night. The Flyers play the Maple Leafs tonight at 7:30 p.m. in South Philly. You can hear that game live here on The Fanatic. We'll talk to Jeff McLane of the Inquirer at 8:10. Tony Dungy at 8:25. Amy Fadool for the entire 9 o'clock hour right here on Kincade and Salciunas. I'm Connor Thomas for the home of the 76ers and Flyers. 97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com.
Eagles head coach Nick Sirianni.
It's taken a lot of people to win.
Salciunas, 97.5 The Fanatic. You can text in and answer our question. Let's talk about why they will win. Let's talk about what makes you confident about the playoff run, not just this Sunday, but to the NFC Championship game, and for some of us, beyond. There are some people that are still hesitant to say Super Bowl, and that's okay.
No, I have no problem with that. If you say I'm not willing to be chesty about the Birds having a parade, I totally get that.
I just don't like the fear of Green Bay all of a sudden for people.
I just say I do not believe they are losing a home game.
Yeah, neither do I.
When they get to if they have a road playoff game before the Super Bowl, I'll evaluate it when I see where everybody's sitting at that point.
Absolutely. All right, Jeff McLane joins us coming up at 8:10. 25 will play for a pair of Sixers tickets for tomorrow night's game against the Wizards. But it is 7:55, new time. Time now for today's headlines with Connor Thomas.
Today's headlines with Connor Thomas.
What we got?
We got some good stuff today. So a little bit earlier in the show, but I have something that I need your guys' thoughts on, and we'll use this call from Tom McGinnis last night to set it up.
Out top, George for three, left perimeter, and that's good. Nick Nurse signaling, get up, pressure.
Now you might say, why is that the one that I picked? Well, that was with about 1:40 left in the game, and that was Paul George scoring his 13th point of the game. All he would score in this one. Your thoughts on Paul George's Sixers tenure so far? Has he been underwhelming to you guys?
Yeah, it's been disappointing. There's been injuries, obviously, as well. I just want to see it when it's everybody together. And unfortunately, you haven't had many opportunities to see it when everybody's together.
Paul George looks long in the tooth to me. He doesn't look like the Paul George we would talk about 3-4 years ago, and that's no blame on him. I just wonder what they thought they were buying.
So with Joel Embiid this year, he's averaging 14 points, 5 boards, 3 assists. Now, it's only been 13 games, right? So he's averaging 14, 5, and 3, which doesn't sound all that great. No, it doesn't. Now, Tyrese Maxey, you got to factor in, is now playing better than he did last year, the year before that, the year before that. So
okay.
If Tyrese is let me try to find what Tyrese Maxey's averaging with Joel Embiid. Again, very limited opportunities. You know, if Embiid and Maxey are going toe-to-toe with the 30 points, Paul George isn't going to also drop 30 points.
I got you.
But when it's been his time for his number to be called, yes, disappointing. I mean, when Joel Embiid was hurt, you would think with Maxey and with Paul George, they'd at least be able to win some games.
Yeah, and I think you got to put some of that on Nick Nurse as well for not being able to figure this out to this point. So an underwhelming start in a lot of ways.
Yeah, I've been a little underwhelmed by Nick Nurse too.
Yeah, it's something that we'll have to keep an eye on as that season progresses, but we've got the Birds to distract us right now, which is a good distraction. So we're going to talk about a little banning. I don't know if you guys saw this, but it was big news yesterday. Foreign country making the decision, and North Korea is not the greatest example of what to do in the world. They banned hot dogs. They said hot dogs are too Western, not allowed anymore. No more hot dogs.
They're not letting hot dogs in.
Listen, I love a hot dog, but we can also be honest with ourselves. Hot dogs are one of the worst things that you could possibly eat.
They are among, as someone who has been through multiple cancers, I will tell you that they will say not good for you.
I love a hot dog. I do. You know, we do a cookout, right? Or if you go to the Phillies game, love getting a hot dog, dollar dog night. I've done the 10 hot dogs in a night, but they're not good for you. So it might not be the worst decision made.
Let's flip this. If you could ban one food from the United States, what are you banning? One food.
Peeps.
That's not bad.
Peeps
I've went on the rant. I would launch them out of the universe if I could. You only buy them because people feel the need to buy them around Easter time. Nobody actually likes Peeps.
I'm going to piss off some people. It might even be my partner here. Brussels sprouts.
Oh, no, you're not going to piss me off. You're not going to piss me off.
The smell of Brussels sprouts ruins an entire home. Ruins the minute you smell.
Yesterday, I was in the parking lot of the Target, and who pulls in next to me but young Ray Dunn, the producer of the Mike Missanelli show. Unplanned Target shopping date. He picked out the Brussels sprouts. I said, dude, seriously?
Wow.
So I've told John this story because I know John's disdain for Brussels sprouts.
Yes.
So when I was, I think, 17, very cute girl invited me over to her house. Watch a movie. All right. Sounds good. I get to the house, and she comes running out the door. Hey, I'm so sorry. My stepdad is boiling 4 pots of Brussels sprouts right now, and the house smells. So I go, all right, do you just want to hop in my car? We'll just drive somewhere else. They're not letting me out. So I had to go into this house. We watched 127 Hours, the James Franco, where his arm gets caught. And the whole time.
What was a rock climber or something?
Yeah. The whole time we're in the family room, which is right next to the kitchen.
Oh, my
adjacent.
gosh.
And I'm just smelling boiling Brussels sprouts.
Oh, that's terrible.
For 2 hours.
It's the worst smell in the world.
Yeah.
It's a terrible smell.
I felt so bad. She was so embarrassed. I was like, don't worry about it. It's all good. And I walk in, I'm like, oh boy, this stinks.
And it sticks to your clothes.
Yeah. Because we weren't a Brussels sprout family, so I didn't know what that smell was.
I hate them.
I found that out.
Nah, CT's up. I can't smell. I'm good.
Yeah,
I'm good with
fine.
that.
You'd be fine.
Absolutely. We're going to round out with this replay, something that we started the show talking about.
Instead of what are you concerned about going into Sunday, screw that, man. What are you confident in?
I'm confident in a lot of things, and I don't want people to think I'm not, right?
I don't know. It sounds like you're worried.
Stop it. You know better than to spin that. I know that this is a touchdown favorite team, and the line only at 5.5. I would Birds. They're going to run all over this Packers team. Their defense is unstoppable. They're going to hold Jordan Love and the Packers to less than 21 points. They are. I'm very confident in everything the Eagles have. I just don't want to get caught up in that confidence. And
Why?
Well, because...
Why?
Listen,
That's what I would ask you. Why do you not want to?
Because I know this stuff. It's a certainty what the Eagles do well.
Okay, well then why do you want to dwell in negative then?
Because we have the luxury to.
No, it's not a luxury.
That doesn't sound like a luxury to me.
It's a detriment to your life to worry about all the crap instead of celebrating the good.
You know what a luxury is? Air conditioning on a hot day,
right?
And heat on a cold day. That's a luxury,
guys,
baby.
If you're going to talk to anyone on this show about celebrating something, I celebrate everything.
Yeah, but in this, I do believe in this situation, you are absolutely being overly majorly cautious.
What do you, Major? I just said they're a touchdown favorite.
No, he's not cautious. He would just rather talk about the concerns.
Let's talk about the concerns
because for 3 months we've been saying how perfect this Eagles team is. And now we have the opportunity for a week to talk about this opponent coming in saying, okay, well, what do they do that potentially matches up against what's so perfect about the Eagles?
I'd more importantly love to say, here's why I think they're perfect. Here's why I think they've been put together well. And here's why I think they're going to thrive.
That's the luxury of my
Why
mind.
I think they're going to thrive.
Well,
the luxury is, look, if it's Detroit week, I totally get
it.
Yeah.
But when I
totally
do it about
Green Bay week,
95-win division-winning baseball team,
because
all of a
it
sudden,
doesn't matter till October.
That team was pretty darn perfect.
It doesn't
You're
matter
listening to
till October.
97.5 The Fanatic, WPEN and WPEN HD1 Burlington, Philadelphia, Beasley Media Group station, broadcasting live from the Comcast Business Studio, powering possibilities. By the way, Embiid 6, Embiid himself is averaging 27 and 8. Paul George is averaging 14 and 5. So if you're just doing the averages, you're still getting your 80 points from your 3 stars. It's just been when Paul George has been the guy, needed to be the guy, that's when he's been the major disappointment.
By the way, did you notice what the Phillies did, Connor? They passed on the idea of putting together a video yearbook for 2024.
Good.
Thank you very much, Phillies, because there was no reason to celebrate the 2020. Wow, look at all those regular season wins.
Yeah, but
I would have liked to see it.
But don't they also do it in...
No, they passed on it.
Yeah, but didn't they do it in 2016?
They used to do it during the rain delay stuff and everything. They would do it. They have passed on doing the video yearbook for 2020.
Yeah, probably because they heard you and I complaining that they made one last year.
Let's sit down and watch this one, kids. This is a look, kids. This is looking really good, but wait till you see the car crash. Oh man,
yeah,
bodies are going to be strewn everywhere.
I don't need that.
Unbelievable.
I don't need that.
You don't need to celebrate everything. And the 2024 Phillies season, nothing to celebrate. Nothing. A third step back. No.
Yeah, but we just went from celebrate everything to not celebrate everything in 2 minutes.
No, you can absolutely enjoy things as they go along. But if you went in, if you had that confidence about the Phillies, then it was probably misplaced.
Maybe.
Not the Eagles.
No, I don't think there's any misplaced confidence with the Eagles. I think it's just misplaced worry.
It is worry. Fans love to create the boogeyman here and there.
What do we have on the text line, Connor?
All right, let me go ahead and get this. It's Tommy Reardon checks in, and he says, Packers, Lions, Vikings, 05 Pats, 72 Dolphins, the Red Army. They can all come to South Philly and get it. My only concern is that they don't increase the spread enough.
Well, no, if anything, you should be happy that the spread is like 3.5. You think it's a lock win because then your bet's going to hit.
Right.
Now I'm seeing
that's
5.5 this morning.
Yes, I saw
So I'm
5.5
in.
this morning.
I think he's saying don't increase the spread enough so that he adds it.
Okay,
he bets
yeah.
it up.
Yeah, I get that.
Yeah, I get you.
Again, look, I understand. There are people that are worried that it's the Packers and not the Commanders. I understand where you're coming from. If I had a choice, I would have picked the Commanders. I know you have refuted that, John. You have every right to.
I absolutely don't believe it.
I would have preferred the Commanders and the Packers. But just because my preference didn't happen does not mean I'm now all of a sudden going to be like, well, here's why they could lose. No, here's why they're going to win has been the point of today's show. And it should be the mindset of every Eagles fan this week. That's why earlier today we talked about what the typical Eagles fan flow will be this week. Worried all week long, and then all of a sudden on game day, you're saying, go Birds, they're going to win. Why did I worry all week long?
Because you're trying to create content. That's why people do it.
There's also fans that do
No, but there's
it. It's
people
not
who
just
do
a
it.
content
There's
thing.
people who do it. They want engagement. There's engagement. Are you kidding? There's engagement farmers all over.
No, of course. I get it.
All over. Like the people we're
But
hearing
that was
from-
happening before engagement farmers.
Well, I think it's been engagement
Before
farmers.
Dove
been going on
Kleiman.
been going on for. No, I'm not talking about them. I'm just talking about even people within a fan base.
Yes,
that
I
want
got
to have
you.
engagement farming.
I'm interested in this thought about the worry because, like, what percentage of the fan base would you say is legitimately worried about this game? I would say it's less than 10.
I'd say it's not less than 10 if you're talking about who's talking about it. And we have you have columnists in this town that will talk about it. I guarantee you.
But it's
we
like,
will
what are
see
you
it.
considering worry? Like, pointing out that the Packers are not a bad football team is not worry.
That's not what anybody. I don't think anybody's saying they're a bad football team. Just saying is what the Eagles are. Celebrate what the Eagles are, not what the Packers.
And that's the point of
could
today's
be
show. Let's
in a one
talk
thing.
about why they will win and not why they could lose. All right, 610-632-0975. That is the number to climb in. We have Jeff McLane coming up at 8:10 today. We can't wait for that. And also, our man Tony Dungy is going to be joining the show at 8:25. Know the coach. You listen to the interview with Tony Dungy, and one lucky winner will win a pair of tickets to the Sixers game tomorrow night against the Wizards at the Wells Fargo Center. It is Kincade and Salciunas on this Tuesday morning, 97.5 The Fanatic.
Tyrone Johnson.
How many teams in the
Thursday morning here on 97.5 The Fanatic, the week of the wild card round of the playoffs. The Eagles will be battling the Green Bay Packers 4:30 on Sunday, and we got you covered all week long, whether it's just John and I and Connor, but of course also our great guests. And joining us now, somebody that we've been talking to every single week during this season, our man from the Inquirer, Inquirer.com. And, of course, you got to experience the new look of the Inquirer Sports where fans can read, watch, and listen to their favorite reporters and columnists. Go to Inquirer.com/sports. Our man Jeff McLane joins us. Jeffrey, happy holidays, brother. It's been a while since we talked. I hope all is well.
Yeah, guys. Happy holidays, if we can still say that, right?
Yeah, well, I mean, I haven't talked to you, so I figured it was still appropriate. You know,
Sure,
I understand the Larry David. I didn't say Happy New Year. You know what I mean? Because that's only 3 days.
A couple times.
Well, it's because you're a real journalist and you go to the games.
Please. Now he's the journalist.
Yeah, Jeff's the real journalist. Jeff, so we're going into the wild card round. The Eagles 14-3. How have everybody felt so far inside the locker room? Every talking point last week was about should they go for it or should they not go for it when it comes to Saquon Barkley's rushing record. Now that is behind them, where is everyone at? Are they rested? Are they feeling better? Are they ready to go for the playoffs?
Yeah, I mean, I think that was a little bit of a question internally, but more so from the outside. I mean, I imagine most of the guys who knew that they were resting and not playing were already looking ahead to the playoffs, getting themselves ready for the game, and possibly looking at to the possible opponents that they now know that it's the Packers. And, there weren't many starters in the locker room after the game when we got in there, but there were several, and there were a few regulars that had to play in the game. And, yeah, I mean, I think that the week off was probably, did a lot of those older guys some favors, and they're looking ahead to this game.
Jeff, you were summarizing, and I know you'll do it on the podcast, summarizing this regular season. What especially of the players who had a chance to come back, not rookies, but like a Quignon or whatever, the guys who came back, what was the biggest story of improvement to you, the biggest storyline of improvement?
For the team that, the guys who actually played last season
yes, exactly.
Versus this season. Look, I don't think the guys who came back had to do much different. There were probably a few guys. There were also some guys who had to kind of accept lesser roles, and that plays all into this as well. If I just pick a guy off the top of my head, like Avonte Maddox started the season as the starting slot cornerback. We knew that he was just a stand-in until Cooper DeJean was ready, but he didn't hold back and helping the rookie along. And I spoke to Cooper actually last week, and he's done this before, but he just credited him and how much he's helped him this season. So that's all part of it. But to me, it was just the changes that they made on both sides of the ball. Specifically, obviously, running back with Saquon Barkley, getting him changed the dynamic of the offense and what they eventually became. And on defense, Zach Bond hitting on that. At safety, CJ, I think the second half of the season he had was as good as any of the defenders. And then, of course, as you mentioned, Quignon Mitchell and Cooper DeJean, two rookie, first two picks of the draft have both been kind of the guys that they've delivered and played. I mean, you don't typically see that. So, there were a couple misses. It's almost remarkable to think the guy that they spent the most in free agency, Bryce Huff, didn't do very much, and they still were able to kind of compensate for that in other ways. So, I think there's a lot that factored into it. And then, of course, I'd be remiss if I didn't mention the two coordinators, Vic Fangio and Cal Moore. I mean, primarily Vic Fangio, who's been, the author of this number one defense.
Jeff, last year you were around that team day in and day out, and you saw the vibe of that locker room and how it just seemed like people were walking with their head down despite a 10-1 record at one point. What's different this year where they're now heading into the playoffs 14-3, and I don't even have a whiff of that kind of a bad mentality going into the playoffs?
Yeah, again, I've mentioned new guys in the locker room. I think they've all added a positive element to it. Saquon, number one, is just a phenomenal teammate and just brings a positivity to almost every encounter that he has in that locker room, and guys just vibe off that. And when your best player is one of your best guys, I mean, that just goes a long way. But a lot of it's just playing better, right? The offense, it took them a while to find themselves, and same with the defense. But when you can rely, I don't think, and maybe I haven't done enough of this as well, but when you talk about this defense and just how much they've been able to kind of rely on them, especially if the offense isn't going in the first quarter, they've kept them in so many games. And when you have that versus what you had last year on that side of the ball, it makes a huge difference. And when you go out there and how you can play complementary football, and that's just been a huge factor. And especially since the bye week, they had one really bad game on the defensive side of the ball against the Buccaneers. They weren't so great against the Packers. I think they were just feeling things out then. I've gone back, already looked at that game because they're facing them again. It'll be interesting to see, how both teams approach having seen each other before and then in the rematch. But this is a much different defense than the one that the Packers saw in Brazil.
Do you have any concern about Jalen Hurts playing in this game, or Jalen Hurts, if he plays, being rusty in this game?
I would say more concerned about the second part of the question. Just the sense I have, let's just put it that way, is that he'll be ready by tomorrow. And that's really just all they needed him to be ready for, as long as he's out there on the practice field. Even if he can't go tomorrow, I guess he would have one more day probably, and then they would probably push it to have him start in this game. But the sense then is that he'll be ready. The rust thing, yes, that's a very real thing. This is that he had injury late in the season. Now, he didn't miss any last year, but he was definitely, the knee was bothering him. He had another hand thing. He does still have that left finger thing that he's dealing with. So and he said it himself that it's affected how he's had to hand off the ball. He's had to use a different hand. So we'll see how that affects him. He had to. Look, he answered some questions about in the passing game. Answered some questions against the Steelers, and they did phenomenally throwing the ball. But they didn't really have an opportunity to kind of string together good performances passing the ball. Now, they might not have had to do that against Washington, but he was out after 2 series. So, that's cause for concern. They had an opportunity to build some momentum going into the postseason, and that was kind of cut out from under them because of the concussion. And, like 2022, for instance, he had the shoulder injury, missed 2 games. They kind of rushed him back for that final game of the season. They didn't really ask him to do a whole heck of a lot against the Giants. He got the job done. And then, the defense was very good in those next 2 games against the Giants and the 49ers. They didn't really need Jalen to be Jalen. Now, he definitely played very well. He didn't turn the ball over. All the credit to him. But it wasn't until the Super Bowl that we really saw Jalen play at his best, and maybe one of the best games he's ever played. So that's the question you have to ask yourself: is he going to need some time here, a game to get his legs back from under him? That's certainly a fair question to ask.
Jeff, we appreciate the time as always, man. Good to hear from you again. We'll be bugging again next week, following hopefully an Eagles victory over the Green Bay Packers and a long playoff run. So everybody, even in the Philadelphia media, has more to write about, more to talk about. We appreciate it, brother.
All right, guys. Talk to you soon.
Thanks, Jeff.
Jeff McLane on the Comcast Business Hotline.
Always with a sport coat, always with slacks. One of the best dressed in Philadelphia sports media.
Why do you walk in like a slob?
I don't. I never walk in like a slob, but compared to him and like Zach Berman and them, I look homeless.
All right, coming up next, the coach, Tony Dungy, will join us to talk about the Eagles' playoff path to the Super Bowl. And, of course, your chance to win Sixers tickets as well. It's Kincade Salciunas, 97.5, The Fanatic.
Fanatic Sports Update.
A different team in Game 18. I'm Connor Thomas, and the Eagles are preparing to take on the team they started their season with. The Green Bay Packers and Eagles played Week 1 in Sao Paulo, Brazil. But now, in both teams' 18th game of the year, Nick Sirianni talked yesterday about what may have changed.
From Game 1 to Game 18, everyone's a different team. Now, obviously, there's things that are staples that have been good for them that remain the same, but, there's a lot of changes and a lot of differences.
The biggest difference for the Packers recently, Christian Watson, wide receiver, done for the year with a torn ACL. A big loss for them. We'll see what impact that has. Sunday, 4:30 p.m. for the wild card matchup. The Sixers fell to the Suns last night, 109-99. No Joel Embiid. He was out with a sprained foot, listed as day-to-day. Sixers play the Wizards tomorrow night at home. The Flyers play the Maple Leafs tonight, 7:30 p.m. in South Philly. You can hear that game live here on The Fanatic. We'll talk to Hall of Fame head coach Tony Dungy coming up next. Amy Fadool for the entire 9 o'clock hour. I'm Connor Thomas, and this update is brought to you by Bet Parks. Join Seth Joyner and D Gunn for the Bet Parks pre- and post-game shows live at Parks Casino. For every Birds game, must be 21. Gambling problem? Call call 1-800-GAMBLER. This is the home of 76ers and Flyers, 97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com.
Ricky Vitalico.
This offensive line, I mean, you know how you can tell.
next on Kincade and Salciunas, 97.5 The Fanatic. Don't forget, playing Know the Coach later this hour. Your chance to win a pair of Sixers tickets for tomorrow night's game against the Washington Wizards. And there is a reason why we're playing Know the Coach, Johnny.
And the coach is Coach Tony Dungy?
Damn right.
So you got to pay attention to everything Coach Dungy says? Well, after last week, I'm glad that Coach Dungy is going to join us on the show now on the Comcast Business Hotline, where every day in business is a big day because Comcast Business gets you ready for what's next. But last week, Coach Dungy really did take me out at the knees on my take that I wanted Jalen to go for it. And my partner, Andrew, I don't know if you got a chance to talk to him ever before, Coach, but he has been crowing all week that a football guy like Tony Dungy agreed with him.
Well, Coach, it's just a couple of football guys here talking, you and me. John's here for the ride, but a couple of football guys knew that the right decision was to not play Saquon Barkley in the starters. And you made the exact same point I made. So thank you, Coach.
Great having you on, Coach.
Well, thank you. It's good to be with you, and I think the Eagles are right where they need to be and rolling towards the playoffs. But when you look at the last games, it's inevitable. Things are going to happen. Baltimore Ravens lose Zay Flowers, but they had to. They're trying to get to the 3 seed, and you lose a dynamic weapon. That's football. But the point that I made is once you get things wrapped up, this Week 18 for the Eagles was a preseason game. Okay, so if Saquon gets hurt and misses the playoffs for a preseason game, everybody's going to be upset. Now, yes, he would have set a record and all that, but that's not what they're there for. You're there to win a championship. I had the same situation in 2004. Peyton Manning, next to last game of the year, he throws his 49th touchdown pass. No one had ever thrown 50 touchdown pass. Everybody's telling me, you got to leave him in. You got to let him go for 50. This would be historic. If I put him in there and he gets hurt, or my left tackle gets hurt trying to protect him, or Marvin Harrison gets hurt, how can I explain that to the owner? How can I explain that to the team? So you have to get your team ready for the playoffs and do what you think is best to get them ready.
I know what kind of eyeballs you put on the teams that you talk about on the air, Coach. When you put your eyeballs on the Eagles, tell Eagles fans why they should be confident going into this postseason.
Well, I see them playing like a couple of years ago. Big, bad front where you're dominant with the offensive line. You've got some defensive line people that nobody can handle. And you've got these receivers that if you have to load up to stop Saquon and Jalen, they can beat one-on-one. And they've got the formula, and they're executing it right now, and they're fairly healthy. So I like where they are. I think they're just really ready to roll, and I don't think anybody's going to stop them until they get to Detroit. I think we can look for Philadelphia and Detroit in the NFC Championship game.
You obviously mentioned that Peyton Manning was one of your quarterbacks when you were a coach in the NFL. That was also one of the big boom eras of the pass-happy offenses.
Yeah.
How do you feel that a team like the Eagles, and let's also look at some more, and how about the opponent the Eagles are playing in Green Bay, have been run-first teams primarily this year, and they've had some of the most success. Can you talk on that?
Yeah, and you have to do what's best for your team. And you can't say, well, everybody is throwing the ball, so we're going to throw. No, if I've got this big offensive line and dominant people, and I've got one of the best backs in football, and I've got a quarterback that can run, that's Philadelphia, that's Baltimore. And they're doing what they do best. And, forget what everybody else is doing. Forget what the experts say, this is how you win. You play to your strengths. I think Coach Serriani is doing that. I think Coach Harbaugh is doing that. And Matt LaFleur has done that in Green Bay. When they got Josh Jacobs, they turned into a bully, run-the-ball team, and then complement that with the passing game, and it's been effective.
Coach, how much does home field advantage really matter? As a guy who had to come into Philly a few times in the postseason, what's it really like walking in there, or any one of these really tough, home field advantages?
The energy and emotion carries the home team. We saw that Sunday night in Detroit. It was just electric from the time the warm-up started. The other thing is the noise factor. If you have to go on a silent snap count because you can't hear, that's a great advantage for the defense. And if you've got defensive linemen that can get off on the ball, they just watch the center and they time up that snap, that's a huge advantage. You can't change the plays as often or as efficient as you would like because everybody can't hear. So it is definitely an advantage to be playing at home, besides the rest factor. You don't have to travel.
What are you most impressed by with this Eagles defense this year? A defense that's towards the top in a lot of categories when they were toward the bottom in pretty much all of them last year.
Well, I think they have really adjusted to Coach Fangio's system. We talked to the guys. We were down in Brazil, and everybody was excited. All the defenders, the system is great, but they had to learn it, and they had to learn. They made some mistakes early on, but by mid-season, you saw those mistakes get less and less, and now they're playing fast. When we got them in the middle of the year, it was a completely different defense. So I think they're just playing fast, and with their rules, that worrying about what they're supposed to do, they know it, and that's why they're able to execute.
Coach, if Matt LaFleur called you today, and you're free, and if he does, give me all the information if you can. If he called you today, what kind of advice would you give him on trying to attack the Philadelphia Eagles?
Well, number one, you've got to keep that defensive front all down. So you've got to run Josh Jacobs early and try to hit some play-action passes where you can get one-on-one. Make them defend the run, make them defend Jacobs, and then hit some big plays. On the other side, you've got to keep Saquon contained and Jalen Hurts, and that's easier said than done. You got to commit a lot of people to that. Take your time with AJ and Devontae and hope that they have an off day throwing. That's what I would recommend.
Coach Dungy, what's your opinion on Nick Sirianni as the head coach of the Philadelphia Eagles?
I think Coach Serriani, his players love him, and they play for him. They like it. He's a little quirky, and he's not your average coach, but you're not please the fans. You're not trying to please the broadcasters. You're trying to get your players to be the best that they can be and have them rally around you. And from the times that I've been around the Eagles camp, that's exactly what's happening. So I think he's done a really, really good job.
Coach, you're from Michigan, right, originally?
Yes, sir. Yes.
So you understand what's going on right now in Detroit and the idea that they're 2 wins away from a Super Bowl and they're going to be at home. Is Detroit the biggest sort of boogeyman out there potentially to keep us from getting to Bourbon Street?
Yes. I looked at them and I thought, what had happened in November and December. They're playing excellent offense. They're explosive. They're running the ball. They're hitting these big plays. But their defense had so many injuries. They played a home game. They gave up 40 points to Buffalo. And they struggled over the 30s on defense in some other games. And I thought, well, that's their Achilles heel. But they came out and they stopped a very good Minnesota offense. And I was really impressed. So now when you look at that and the energy and everything, I grew up in the Detroit area. I'm almost 70 years old. I was 2 when they won their last championship. So we've been through a lot of tough times and a lot of pain. And they want to do it for these fans. So you've got a good team that is motivated by the city and by the fans, and they're going to be tough.
How much would you have liked to have had a guy like Jalen Carter playing on your defensive line?
Oh, you would have used him.
Coach Sirianni has talked to me a couple times, and he's compared Jalen to Warren Sapp. And he said he's got this talent, this unbelievable talent, and if we can harness that and get him playing like he can play every week, nobody's going to stop him. Nobody's going to block him. And that's what they've done. And he set the tone for that defense. And when you have a disruptive force in the middle like that everybody has to account for, it's kind of like an Aaron Donald or John Randall, who I had in Minnesota, and Sapp, where you know how people are going to block because they've got to double team him. And that means everybody else is getting singled. Now you take advantage of that with your other guys, with your blitz schemes, and it's huge.
Andrew, back in Atlanta, Buck Ballou and I doing our show for forever. Tony Dungy would come on with us and everything. And when we both became fathers, his all-pro dad thing is a great pursuit to be able to help guys be able to understand the role of a father and what a father needs to do. Andrew has a young son, Coach. What's the most important thing you would tell Andrew with his young son, Cooper, to be, about at 2 years old? What's the most important thing he needs to be worried about?
I would say to be available for your son and to put him first. I was an award in San Antonio many years ago, and a fatherhood award, and I asked my son Eric, who was about the thing we've ever done together. I want to tell a story when I'm getting this award. He's been the sideline, holding my court in the Super Bowl, and meeting all these players and everything. He said, "Well, remember when we moved and all the baseball equipment was packed away, and we just made a ball out of tape and a broom, and I beat you in tape baseball 22-3. That's the most fun we've ever had."
I remember the score.
Yeah, and that says it all. They just want you to be there for them, to be available, and be there, and be their dad. If you can do that in the midst of all the hustle bustle we have, they're going to be excited.
Check out allprodad.com. You find out more about that. Coach Dungy, always love catching up with you, buddy.
Oh, thank you, guys, and I can't wait to watch these Eagles. I think they're going to put on a show in the playoffs, and looking forward to seeing it.
Thanks, Coach.
Thanks, Coach.
All right, thanks, guys.
There
Great
he is.
talking to him.
Tony Dungy on the Comcast Bizarre Line.
And he agreed with you, fellow football guy.
Fellow football guy, Tony Dungy.
I used to be able to count on Coach to have my back on stuff. Nah, not as much.
Well, he'd rather side with the football guy.
Not as much.
And I don't blame him for that.
I don't know what he thinks about the but I'm sure he really thinks he's a real football guy.
Well, he and I also see eye to eye on a lot of things.
Oh,
so,
boy.
just a couple football guys hanging out. All right, coming up next, we'll react to our conversations because we had Jeff McLane on before Tony, Coach Dungy, so we'll react to both. Also, know the coach for our first pair of Sixers tickets to give away to one lucky winner. We'll tell you how you can win that next. It is Kincade and Salciunas on a Tuesday morning, wildcard weekend, 97.5 The Fanatic.
Now, a Birds Insider.
6:43 on Kincade Salciunas, 97.5 The Fanatic. As I mentioned, we have 2 pairs of Sixers tickets. Now, we both came up with a question for Know the Coach. So how about we do one now and one at the end of the segment?
Yeah, because we get an opportunity to give 2 people opportunities to win today, which is great.
And we're giving away the tickets for tomorrow night's game against the Wizards at the Wells Fargo Center. Single tickets on sale now. I asked about Jalen Carter because I imagine any coach would want to have him on their football team. He and Nick Sirianni, Coach Tony Dungy and Nick Sirianni compared Jalen Carter to who? You can climb in at 215-263-0975. The first person to get it right on the contest line will win our first pair of tickets for tomorrow night's Sixers game. Again, 215-263-0975. That was a great conversation. Really, really thankful for you to have that relationship with Coach Dungy, to have him on the show.
Real good man.
He feels good about the Eagles, bullish about the Eagles. Obviously, Detroit, he still, I think, is leaning toward Detroit being the team that comes out of the NFC, but you wouldn't have to face them until the NFC Championship.
Yeah, exactly. And I know that he doesn't believe it's, Detroit would definitely beat the Eagles.
Right.
But that's the team that is really, really the only. I think he thinks they're the only team standing between the Eagles and New Orleans.
Well, like he said, and
one.
I heard Mikey Miss talking about this yesterday on the Mike Missanelli show. Comes your way at 10 o'clock.
That's a good show. I've listened to that.
He was kind of waiting, it seemed like, for the Lions to eventually have that slip up, and they didn't. And in their Week 18 game, a must-win game, winner wins the – well, not must-win game, but winner gets the 1 seed, which was very important, especially for the Lions. Lions crushed the Vikings.
I was waiting for Minnesota, though, to fold their tents all year. And I don't believe one loss. They had so many opportunities to make that a different game. If Minnesota goes back in 2 weeks, did you see Dan Campbell at the end of the game?
Yes.
Where he hugs Kevin O'Connell and he goes, I'll see you in 2 weeks?
Yep, I saw that.
That, to me, I think it would be a different game. I don't necessarily think that Minnesota wins it, but I think it would be a much different game.
Yeah.
I don't think Minnesota would miss that many opportunities to cash in.
Absolutely. All right, congratulations to our man Mo in Warrington, who won our first pair of our Sixers tickets. We'll give away another pair coming up later on this segment. Connor, what do we have on the text line here? You can text the show at 610-632-0975. Again, our main topic today is why the Eagles will win on Sunday. What makes you confident that they will make the run to the NFC Championship game? Instead of trying to do the fear-mongering topic of what are you concerned about, let's talk about the positive. So what do we got?
All right, so Bruce checks in, and he says, no concern for the game Sunday. I view games by comparing each group of each team, offensive and defensive. The line, birds. Offensive, birds. Linebacker, birds. Secondary, birds. It's that simple for me. Birds easily win by at least a touchdown.
You know what? I think we're speaking this into existence.
Good.
That I think positivity breeds positivity. And for this Eagles team at 14-3, now again, it'll be a much different show. If it's Birds-Lions week, it's a much different conversation as far as the two teams matching up. I think people are leaning into it.
Yeah, there should be no fear-mongering of the Packers.
There should not be fear-mongering.
They're a decent football team.
They are.
They're a playoff
good
team.
team.
They played an incredible division, and you know, their record, they finished with 11 wins. 11 wins would have won some divisions. Unfortunately for them, they're in a stacked NFC North where one team won 15 games, another team won 14 games. We're not saying the Packers stink.
No, not at all.
But the Eagles are better. Just leave it at that. The Eagles are a better football team.
And like in everything, they're better.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, no, 100%. It's just not fair to rope any concern into fear-mongering. Like, that's another level. And some people do that. And I'm not saying that doesn't exist. And I think if you have a concern about the Packers, you're not terrified of them. It's a playoff opponent.
All right, this is our other question for Know the Coach for the second pair of Sixers tickets for tomorrow night's game against the Wizards. We asked Tony Dungy about the decision to sit Saquon Barkley. Saquon Barkley was on pace to break a record. What was the record that Peyton Manning could have... Whoops. What was...
Oh, you're terrible.
What was the record that Peyton Manning could have accomplished?
Okay, you can give that.
What was the number he was trying to reach?
He was trying to reach. I gave out the name, but there was a number that he was trying to reach. If I gave out the number, that would have been an easy answer. What was the number that Peyton Manning was trying to reach that Coach Tony Dungy said, you know what? I can't have you risk getting hurt, so you're going to sit, like a true football coach would say.
I'm not sure you'd be good on charades.
215-263-0975 is the number to climb in to answer that question. First person on the contest line will win our second pair of Sixers tickets. All right, coming up next, Amy Fadool will join us. She'll be in with us for the entire hour. Obviously, we started a little bit earlier with our new commercial time. So Amy will close out the show with us. We'll go through all of our topics that we've gotten into today. And I brought up Jahan Dotson to you yesterday. Nick Sirianni spoke on him. You'll hear from the head coach coming up in the 9 o'clock hour. It is Kincade and Salciunas on this Tuesday morning, 97.5 The Fanatic.
Fanatic Sports Update.
A big loss for Green Bay. I'm Connor Thomas, and this update is brought to you by Bet365. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. Download the app today. The Green Bay Packers suffered a big loss in their final game of the regular season. Christian Watson, it was announced yesterday, a torn ACL. He is done for the year, so they take a loss in the wide receiver core. The Eagles, meanwhile, rested in Week 18 and prepare for the Packers now, but Nick Sirianni says it's different than the last time these two teams faced off.
From game 1 to game 18, everyone's a different team. Now, obviously, there's things that are staples that have been good for them that remain the same, but, there's a lot of changes and a lot of differences.
We'll find out Sunday, 4:30 p.m. at Lincoln Financial Field if the Eagles are able to solve that mystery and take down the Green Bay Packers. The Sixers lost to the Suns last night at home, 109-99. No Embiid in that game. Sprained foot for him. He's day-to-day. The Sixers play the Wizards tomorrow night. The Flyers play the Maple Leafs tonight, 7:30 p.m. in South Philly. You can hear that game live here on The Fanatic. We've had some great guests on the show today. Jeff McLane, Tony Dungy. You can listen back to those interviews on our website or on our YouTube page. But Amy Fadool, another great guest, joins us for the entire 9 o'clock hour. This update's also brought to you by Allstate. Some people just know you could save money on car insurance by checking Allstate first. So what are you waiting for? Check Allstate first for a quote today. You're in good hands with Allstate. I'm Connor Thomas for the home of the 76ers and Flyers, 97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com.
Bill Colarulo.
The Packers are a complete
This 97.5 The Fanatic on this Tuesday morning. And because of the new commercial breaks, not getting paid more but working more, the great Amy Fadool joins us. What's up, Amy?
Hi, guys. I like that.
There's
That's
a labor lawyer somewhere.
It is. It's an extra 5 minutes of work.
Amy's been in bed by like 7:30 every night, with
With
these
West
holidays
Coast
and
games.
everything.
Yeah, it's been nice and easy for you recently, I
Those are
imagine.
great.
By the way,
isn't
speaking
that
of the
fun?
Sixers, congratulations to Scott and Philly, who won our second pair of Sixers tickets for tomorrow night's game against the Wizards, where Joel Embiid might play. And if he does, they will win. And if he doesn't, have at it.
They will still win. It's the Wizards.
They will still win. You are correct. Amy, happy Wild Card Week.
Wild Card Week, my favorite week. Wild Card Saturday, Wild Card Sunday is one of my favorites.
You do like Wild Card
I do.
weekends.
I wish there was still the double, like I wish 1 and 2 still had buys, but I do like the Wild Card. Yeah, listen, more football is good.
Yeah, and we
Bring
got
it
5
on.
days of it this week because of the college games.
Exactly, it goes straight through.
FanDuel's doing the playoff payoff, baby. That's 5 straight days of same game
love it.
parlays, man. So it's very exciting. We'll ask the question for you to start. The draw of the Green Bay Packers. Did you have a preference between the Packers and the Commanders? Did it matter?
No, I didn't have a preference. I think that on paper you probably thought, oh, well, let's go ahead and go with the Commanders because I feel like you knew what you had in them. You haven't seen the Packers really since obviously you saw them in the week 1, which was eons ago, but you don't know exactly what you're getting. And I felt like you dance with the devil, but to me, I think the Eagles match up well either way. Everything kind of goes in their favor, and then obviously, I never want to risk injury upon anybody, but that's a disappointing injury for the Packers, certainly heading into the playoffs. That helps the Eagles out a bit. But I think it's still a good, solid team. I think that they match up evenly. But no, did I have a preference? Yeah, I mean, I thought the Packers were a good matchup. I think they're going to win no matter who, if it was the Packers or the Commanders.
When Tony Dungy, and I asked him, how would you, if he was talking to Matt LaFleur, how would you lead?
Which I thought was great.
With Josh Jacobs, he goes, you got to stay committed to Josh Jacobs. I personally don't think that's a way you're going to beat the Eagles. By running on this team.
Right.
The pass.
Because I know I had this on here before. Like I am always, the run has to set up the pass. I'm always a believer in that.
We're a little old school with that, but
I think it has to. I think you cannot. I should say, but dynamic running back. He's very good.
Sure.
He's not Saquon Barkley, but he's a good running back. So you can't forget about him back there. But I don't think it's about like stacking the box with 8 in there and like shoving it down their throat type of vibe. But just make sure you have somebody committed to him because while they don't have their full receiving complement that they had earlier in the season, they still have weapons that he can use. And Jordan Love's a good quarterback.
Real quick, Johnny, we did not do our second opinion segment today because there was not really much to unpack from the Sunday win.
Yeah, not a
when
lot.
The second and third and fourth straight running, backups were playing.
Yeah, but though, did you have any questions about the game, Amy? No, I didn't. I mean, I didn't either. And
I think you can really take away from that game.
And that's weird because we tend to be people who second guess almost everything. I would only have one second guess from that game. The idea of how much time they let Jordan Davis be on the field. How much Dallas Goedert was on the field.
Well, Dallas Goedert I got. Jordan Davis maybe I didn't. Dallas Goedert I got. He's coming back from injury. He had not played.
And putting Kenny Gainwell in for the last
especially in the fourth quarter. That was weird.
A little Shipley time.
I didn't understand it.
That's like a guy we've never heard of on the roster time.
So, I mean, our friends at CMOH, the consultants in medical oncology and hematology, we thank them all year long being along with us. And I promise you, next week, there's going to be significant things to question.
It'll be a much longer segment.
Well, playoff games, even in victories.
Oh, yeah, you're always questioning.
You're always looking to get better because it really does mean more. Obviously, it's, winner. And so you have to really second guess.
Or as head coach Nick Sirianni said, single game elimination.
So I've never heard of that before, by the way. But consultants in medical oncology and hematology, here's one thing. You don't second guess them.
No.
That let them be either your first opinion or make it your second. But they're going to take great care of you. They gave me my life back.
You're listening to 97.5 The Fanatic, WPEN and WPEN HD1 Burlington, Philadelphia, Beasley Media Group station, broadcasting live from the Comcast Business Studios, powering possibilities. Amy, I want to play something for you because today's topic has been going against the norm. And the norm, sometimes the Philadelphia media.
Okay.
But sometimes the Philadelphia fan. And the topic always seems to be around this time, what are you concerned about going into this playoff game?
Yeah.
How about we say, what are you confident in It's a crazy concept.
What?
To lead with the positive and not the negative when the Eagles should beat the Packers. And they are better. We had a texter earlier that said if you just do on paper, every position versus position, the Eagles win. So I want to get your answers on that. But Nick Sirianni, we played this clip a couple of times today, and it was one of his best answers. John said it's the best thing he's ever heard Nick Sirianni say.
That's high praise.
It is, and I really do, and I'm genuine with it. I'm not mocking him. I think it's a great answer.
And he was asked, what do you do differently come playoff time? You played the Packers in week 1. Now there's a lot of tape on you, a full week of a regular season. And this was his answer.
The higher the stakes get, as we get into single elimination football, the more you got to stay committed to the things you've done on a daily basis to get 14 wins. I think that's been my biggest thing is like, all right, what can you do different here and now? And it's not even different, and it always comes back to what got you here, what got you 14 wins. That doesn't mean you're not looking to improve on the things that you can do better at, which is exactly what we're doing and trying to shore up every single thing we possibly can. But what are the core things that got you to this situation when everybody's talking about single elimination football, what happens this? Well, what happens in 3 weeks if you do this or that? Blah, 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 that we stay committed to completely what we're doing. It's what we've tried to do all year, and that's the point, right, is what's gotten you to the number 2 seed and, stick to those principles, tough, detailed together, and really double, triple, quadruple down on those things.
The one thing I'll disagree with him in is when he said, we've been doing this all year, which you haven't. It took until the bye week, but
correct.
Other than that little sentence or those couple of words, they did start running the football in week 6 against the Browns, and there's been 1 week where they went away from it with the full allotment of players, and that was the Pittsburgh game.
Yeah, and there's a reason behind that, right? So that was the week that A.J. Brown had said, throw me the ball.
Yeah,
Come on, let's get this thing going. All right, I'll throw you the ball. I got you. Yeah, I mean, that's a really long way to say keep the main thing, and take it one game at a time. But it was a well-thought-out, well-discussed answer because it really is, obviously it's factually true, but you have to really focus on the minutia of it all because in the playoffs, everything is so much more amplified. Every mistake is so much more costly. Every possession is that much more meaningful. And so you really can't have any kind of lapses that we've seen them have. Even when they were winning, they had lapses, right? They were judgment calls, fumbles, drop passes, little things like that. You can't have that because the playoffs are that much more, tighter's the easiest word to say, but it really is much more concentrated. Every little thing is so much more concentrated. So when he says like we have to double, quadruple check everything, he's right. Like you have to really make sure you're on your A game because you're playing against a very good team that also has the expectations you do, that also won a lot of games, that also played in the better division than you did. Let's be honest. I mean, that NFC North is absolutely a gauntlet, and to face a team that's gone through what they've gone through is going to be formidable, and they're going to be ready for it. And coming in here, though it's going to be very loud, it's not going to be jarring for them, right? It's not like a cold weather versus warm. None of that's nonsense. It's a very, very well-coached team with Matt LaFleur, well done as far as their offense goes, and I think their defense is I think the Eagles' defense is much better, but it's not a bad defense on the Packers side.
When Coach Dungy talked about the about the Eagles, and he said, "Boy, they remind me a lot of 2022." I'm hoping that we see what we saw against the Giants, San Francisco, and Kansas City in 2022, an aggressive offensive attack. They didn't hold back. Remember, they went right after Devontae Smith,
it was like,
right
let's
in the
just
middle,
go.
like a 40-yard bomb. They came out really aggressive. Do you see any? You guys feel any apprehension to doing that against the Packers? Because this is a good defense.
It is a good defense, and I think the secondary is legit. But I like the idea of setting the tone early on when you're at home and doing something like that, like they did in 2022, and you just shove it down their throats, whether it's in the form of Saquon Barkley or it's A.J. Brown or Devontae Smith. Set the tone for your team and get things rolling. And plus, I think it's a really good idea for Jalen Hurts to get things throwing right away. Like, I obviously do not go away from the run. I would never say that. But here's a guy that hasn't played in 3 weeks. I think you throw out of the gates 6 of the first 8 times.
Well, we've talked so much about the rust factor, but there's also I know that Jalen doesn't believe in momentum. Remember, he has said that numerous times in his press conferences this year, which I believe is a load of you-know-what. But once it's like a kicker. Once the one goes to the uprights or a relief pitcher, once you strike out a batter.
Yeah, a basketball player. Once you see the bucket, the swish of the net, you're like, all right, now I feel better. Now
and run the A.J. Brown slant route first play from the game. Just so that he can get that one release, to an open receiver because A.J. Brown's always got separation.
And remember
Always
after,
open.
remember after halftime in Sao Paulo.
Oh, yeah.
That was the big touchdown
Yeah.
to A.J. Brown. It wasn't the quick slant, but it was that he got them into that softer part, and he got him on the crosshair.
He's always going to get you extra. I mean, he's obviously such a good receiver. I do go back to the Steelers game where they were like, all right, we've got a point to prove. There's no reason you can't prove that same point.
It's so
against the
funny.
Packers.
They just did it. They're like,
we're just going to do
fine,
this.
Fine, guys. We'll throw
I
the
remember
football.
being in here thinking, like, I don't know if this is the week where you want to tempt fate. And they were like, nah, we got this.
Real quick, a little bit of news here. Oh, my God.
Oh, no.
Oh, no.
No, this is not Eagles related.
Okay.
I question ownership. We played John Mara earlier today.
Yeah. How about
his press conference did not sound very confident.
That they kept their jobs is just remarkable.
And then you hear him talk about it afterward. The Bears have requested permission to interview Mike McCarthy, depending on what the Cowboys decide to do with Mike McCarthy. A, why would the Cowboys keep Mike McCarthy?
Yeah.
B, why would the Bears be clamoring to get him?
And like, does he really have that much saved in there from the Packers run? Is that really what we're looking at?
I think that's what they've looked at. But here's what I'm going to say. Here's all I'm going to say to you, though. It depends on how much you appreciate Dak Prescott. And for the Cowboys, they're going to keep. If they keep him, they're keeping him because Dak Prescott says, "Do not get rid of him." He said it publicly. He has said how much he enjoys with a guy, how much success he's had with him.
Listen,
a lot of team success.
Yeah, I don't.
Well, I mean,
you can never figure out what the Cowboys are going to do because Jerry Jones is completely lunatic.
I just can't believe that a team is requesting to find out if they're moving. Hey, if
moving
you
on from a coach
if you
that should have been
fire that
fired
head
2 years
coach,
ago.
Can we have him? What?
Thanks.
Whatever, Chicago, whatever, Dallas. You guys
Good
keep on doing what you're doing because you've had a lot of success over the last 30 years. All right, coming up next, we'll continue today's topic, but I mentioned it. You'll hear from Nick Sirianni on Jahan Dotson. Did they find maybe another added wrinkle to the Eagles offense? You'll hear from head coach Nick Sirianni. We'll check out our text line as well. You can text the show at 610-632-0975. It is Kincade and Salciunas. Amy Fadool join us for the rest of the show right here on 97.5 The Fanatic.
Andrew DiCecco.
When you look at what the Eagles have, they are the
9:12 on Kincade and Salciunas, 97.5 The Fanatic with Amy Fadool for the remainder of the show today. Don't forget Mike Missanelli show coming your way at 10 o'clock with Bill Colarulo and Ray Dunn. Speaking of Ray Dunn, real quick, another shout out to an incredible broadcaster that Ray Dunn is. You guys all know him as Ray, the producer of the Mike Missanelli show, but he's doing a great
enemy
job.
Of the state this week.
Huh?
An enemy of the state this week.
Oh, yeah, because he's a Jordan Love guy. Well, let's put that aside for a second.
Let's put it aside for just a second.
Really cool article on Awful Announcing.
Yes.
And no, not because he did an awful job. Awful Announcing does all kinds of work. And they interviewed Ray because he was on the call for Temple's 2000th career victory.
He was awesome.
And he
on
was
that
amazing
call.
at the call. But I thought it was a really cool story highlighting one of our own. So I wanted to give Ray Dunn a shout out there.
He did such a great job.
It's a big moment.
And he didn't overstep the situation.
Right.
He didn't make the broadcast about him. He made it about the moment. And it was perfect.
And he didn't make it all about Temple throughout the game.
No, he didn't.
I forgot that Davidson was up 11 at one
I know,
point. in that
that's the
game.
thing.
Great
And
broadcast.
so he had to talk about the dominant performance of
Yes.
Davidson while secretly he wanted Temple to come
Exactly.
back
I
and
need
win.
to call this game.
Yeah,
Come
and
on,
He was
guys.
still target yesterday buying Brussels sprouts like an everyman.
That's
I
Ray
know.
Dunn.
He's just one of us.
You know
One of
what's
us,
going
Ray
to
Dunn.
Just
You
one
know,
of us.
someday, I guarantee you this, someday a producer here at the Fanatic is going to be saying, hey, do you have Ray Dunn's number? Like, can we get him on? He's got a big game this week.
Can we call
That
Ray?
we're going to want to talk about because it's going to happen. It's going to happen.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, speaking of Brussels sprouts, Amy, I need you to talk about this. I told John and Connor the story earlier, but I would like to get it from your perspective, being that you are a woman. So,
Actually correct.
when I was a junior in high
Glad
school,
we straightened that out.
Okay, I'd love to see where the story's
when I
going
was a
now.
junior in high school, a girl invited me over to her house to
Okay.
watch a movie, and
To watch a movie.
I was very much interested in watching this movie. All right,
Do
And
you
I-
remember the movie?
127 hours, James Franco.
You were really interested in
General
watching
I was
it.
really
Hospitals.
interested.
General Hospital's James Franco.
So I get there, and she comes running out of the house. And I'm like, this is weird.
That is weird.
And she goes, I'm so sorry. My stepdad likes to meal prep, and he's boiling 4 pots of Brussels sprouts in the kitchen right now. And I was like, all right, do you want to go for a ride somewhere? She goes, no, they want you to come in, blah, blah. I was like, okay, I'm a respectful individual. I'll be there. We sat in the family room. The kitchen was connected. And for the entire movie, the Brussels sprouts were a-boiling. So if you were a girl inviting a boy over in your teenage years and your parents decided to boil Brussels sprouts at that time, how would you act?
First of all, good for her for at least giving you forewarning, okay? That was a very kind act. You could have just walked in there, olfactory ablazing,
Yes.
just ready to, and assault was coming your way. So at least you had a little
I had
time
the
to
heads up.
prepare.
Yeah.
That is a visceral reaction. I smelled it and I wasn't even there when you said that. That is
4 pots. We're going.
It's just,
Would you
sorry.
would you yell? What
I would be,
you do?
yes, I would tell my parent, because in the history of the world, it's a completely different time from up to now. Our kids, they would storm away, and we would instantly oh yeah, no, I'll take your iPad. No, we won't. We won't do any of that stuff. But I would be like, are you serious right now? Are you doing this on purpose because I'm having a boy
Right,
over?
exactly.
That's what I would have thought. That's what my first inclination would have been. And then I would have thought, what do you need all of these Brussels for? No one needs that many Brussels.
No, they don't.
4
pots of Brussels.
I don't care how meal prep, how much Brussels do you need?
That's
not
terrible.
That's not Brussels.
It was
That's
a source
4
of
months.
protein.
That's 4 months of Brussels.
And the stink.
Oh, you need a lot of protein.
Great
Stink
movie.
is
4
terrible.
months of them.
The guy was trying to get jacked.
Is it a great movie?
No.
It's a great movie for
It was a great
17-year-old
James Franco?
Andrew, man.
Do you associate now, if you see that movie, do you smell the Brussels?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah,
Well,
it's
he's-
like
and
your
every time I
Pavlov's
eat
dog.
Brussels, I think
I would
about
more-
that movie.
I'd more have
I'm
to,
going to think about it now.
I'd more cry having to watch him overact. That would cause me to.
I'm proud that she came out and said that to
Yes.
you.
I think so too.
But
Nice
that
woman.
is
That's
I would
rough.
have had words with my parents and
That's-
been like, "Are you serious?"
That
right
must have been a rough time.
now? Especially the proximity between the kitchen and where you were watching.
Oh, it's connected.
Oh,
Yeah,
that's not
connected.
appropriate.
Real quick before we play this Jahan Dotson cut on from Nick Sirianni, Jeff Saturday on Get Up. Is this?
This is not real. It is.
If
but-
Jalen Hurts doesn't clear concussion protocol,
I mean, I can't believe this. This is
Jeff
sentence.
Saturday
It's
quote
Tuesday.
quote
Yeah.
and Get Up is tweeting this out. Quote, that's a massive deal. This team could be eliminated week 1 of the playoffs.
I don't.
Wow, way to go out on a limb there,
Yeah.
Jeff.
Are you sure? hey, if everybody's injured, they might not be able to win the game. You could have that sentence for literally any team in any sport ever.
He's going to clear concussion protocol. Let's just leave it at that, number one. But number two, really, that's your
take?
This
that's
is
your hot?
they could be eliminated. No, they will. I'll tell you right now, they will be eliminated.
It won't go well for them. It won't go well.
All right, here's Nick Sirianni yesterday talking about Jahan Dotson, who had a very, very good game on Sunday.
Jahan played really good, had played a really good game, was good in and out of the breaks, caught the ball, had some moments with the ball in his hands on yards after the catch. I think one thing that we've really enjoyed about Jahan is that he came in here and just right in with the rest of the guys, just playing tough and playing physical. He's scrappy out there, and he's been scrappy since the day he's got here. Even when he's not, he's affecting the game even when he's not touching the football. So it's good to see him get his hands on the ball yesterday and do the things that he could do yesterday. That was exciting to see, and I know we're going to need him to make plays throughout the postseason.
Look, he's not going to get 9 targets, but maybe he gets 2 or 3.
I think that's one of the only things you could take away from this last week.
Yeah. That
really.
He doesn't stink.
Yeah, that's like, oh, he's a functioning wide receiver. And because he's been buried. I mean, that was something we were excited about. We all saw Jahan Dotson when he was with Washington.
Yeah,
He's a good receiver.
We thought you were getting
Well, this is
something
a
really
nice
good.
third receiver.
So, I don't know. I celebrate the fact that happened on Sunday. Maybe Jalen looks his way. It depends on if he
Saw
looks his
him
way.
and said, all right, maybe.
Because there have been times we've talked about this where he has been open.
Yeah, he just doesn't look his way at all. You're
and
right.
he doesn't look his way. So maybe a performance like that, he goes, all right, let me look his way come playoff time. Secret weapon, Jahan Dotson. All right, coming up next, we'll hear from you at 610-632-75. Also, ESPN did an article on every team in the playoffs. They discussed their hopes, concerns, and other topics for each team. Hear what they said about the Eagles next. I'll run through them with you guys right here on 97.5 The Fanatic.
Fanatic Sports Update.
The teams have changed. I'm Connor Thomas, and that was something Nick Sirianni discussed yesterday in his media availability as the Eagles prepare for their matchup with the Green Bay Packers. Now, remember, these teams played in Week 1 of the NFL regular season, but it's been a long time since then as they prepare for their wild card showdown. Here's what Sirianni had to say.
From game 1 to game 18, everyone's a different team. Now, obviously, there's things that are staples that have been good for them that remain the same, but, there's a lot of changes and a lot of differences.
We'll see what those changes and differences are on Sunday at 4:30 p.m. at Lincoln Financial Field, the time for kickoff. But one of them that we know already, Christian Watson, done for the year with a torn ACL, a big loss in the wide receiver corps for the Packers. The Sixers lost to the Suns last night at the Wells Fargo Center, 109-99. Joel Embiid did not play. He's got a sprained foot. He is day-to-day. Sixers play the Wizards tomorrow night at home. The Flyers play the Maple Leafs tonight, 7:30 p.m. in South Philly. You can hear that game live here on 97.5 The Fanatic. Amy Fadool remains with us for the entire 9 o'clock hour. I'm Connor Thomas for the home of the 76ers and Flyers, 97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com.
on Kincade and Salciunas, 97.5 The Fanatic. Amy Fadool with us for the entire hour. I want to run through this with you guys. So ESPN, and no, not the Jeff Saturday take of if Jalen Hurts doesn't play, the Eagles could lose. Wow, that's a great one. No, they decided to do a breakdown of every playoff team, and they asked a question for every single playoff team. And, you know, the strengths, the hopes, the weaknesses, the concerns. So I want to run through the ones just for the Eagles. All right, I'm not going to give you any of the other teams for now. We have a full week to talk about this. Odds to win the Super Bowl, plus 650. Chances to make the divisional round. This is an interesting one. You want to take a guess at their percentage.
To make the divisional round?
Yes, that's win one game. That's win Sunday.
Okay.
We'll take a guess.
Less odds.
Plus,
no, it's this FPI. I have a war. I told you, I have a war.
78.
84.
Price is right.
Oh, $1.
84, 85.
Well, I have a war with this. That's your clue.
What?
It's 50.3.
That's
First of all, that's wrong.
They only
you
have a 50.3%.
cannot give me 85 when I say 84.
Listen, if you're
Just
going to
go
play
$1
prices right, we're going to play the game, Amy.
That's true.
Play for keeps. It's playoff season.
But, like, that's ridiculous.
Wait, did you say 50? What was it?
50.3. So that means the Packers, according to the FPI, which is the computer that I will punch until it is no longer zapping, is 49.7%.
It's a pick'em at a home game?
Yes.
That's just
for the
dumb.
2 seed?
According to the
That's
Football
just dumb.
Power Index. Yeah, isn't it stupid? This computer.
Is it? Are they taking into account of like the questionable?
Says the FPI
They're
chance.
dumb metrics.
Yeah, it's just their dumb metrics.
Listen, that's what I'm gonna say.
Here's the first game outlook. Eagles get a rematch of the openers. They will host the number 7 seeded Packers in the wild card round on Sunday. Philadelphia won the initial meeting 34-29 in Sao Paulo, Brazil. Thanks to 109 yards and 2 touchdowns for running back Saquon Barkley in his Eagles debut. 3 touchdowns to include the receiving touchdown. Eagles haven't won a playoff game for the 2022 season. But it's been 1 year. That's weird.
That's generated by AI.
That's
all
such
AI
a
generated.
weird sentence
That's just
to
like put
add.
in facts.
Yes, the Eagles haven't won a playoff game in 2 years because they lost their one and done last year. All right, their reason for hope: elite personnel. The Eagles boast arguably the best roster in football, which includes a top-tier offensive line, MVP contender, and 2,000-yard rusher Barkley, a dynamic receiver duo in A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, and a highly ranked defense. It's not only a talented group, but a physical one, giving it a real chance to plow its way into the Super Bowl.
But only a 50% chance
To get to the next round.
It's just how could it generate that sentence and then also generate 50% chance of winning?
Well, this is the same thing as the Jeff Saturday thing.
Yeah,
Injuries bad, computers dumb. This is elementary stuff. Don't listen to that.
What are the
computers
negatives?
are dumb.
What's the negative? It says
The reason for concern.
Yeah.
Slow starts, which is actually
okay.
Yeah, but that
a
has
real
gone
one.
away. That's gone away
All
in
right.
the last month.
So they don't score in the first quarter.
But they have been. That's like.
Now, hold on. Watch your tongue, because that was not written by the computer. That was written by ESPN's own and 97.5 The Fanatic's Tim McManus.
Okay, but Tim.
I mean, it's true.
No, that it was a problem, but I think the next line should be, but it's a problem that they have corrected.
Well, you didn't let me get to the next part. Slow starts. Eagles failed to score in the first quarter of their first 7 games and 10 times overall during the regular season. Philadelphia improved in that area down the stretch, but still ranked 21st in opening quarter points at 3.7. Falling behind against good teams in the playoffs could prove costly, which is true.
Well, no, that's not unfair. Tim's not unfair there.
Now, the last one, they did the heat check rating. I don't even know what that is. The heat check rating, I guess, of the chances to win. They have the Eagles at an 8, which they also have the Lions. Everything is rosy in Philadelphia so long as Hurts is ready to come out of concussion protocol and play next week. And if you can't, Tanner McKee probably has a playoff win in him.
Oh.
That was by that Benjamin Solak, who's like 27 and is like the senior VP writer at ESPN. Came out of nowhere.
Mm-hmm.
Good for him. He did some stuff locally here. If Tanner McKee plays, they will not win. Can we just leave it at that?
They're not winning if
We all enjoy the Tanner McKee situation. It's fun to talk about. It was fun to talk about in July and August, and it was fun to talk about in Week 18.
You're perfect. That's perfect
That's it.
answer.
They could win a playoff game with Tanner McKee.
No, they can't.
Against the Packers?
Yes.
No, they can't.
Yeah, your defense is going to hold them to sub 20, so can Saquon score 3 times? He did it last time.
They're going to focus on. They're going to focus on.
It changes a little bit of the dynamic. They are going to put 8 in the box against Saquon.
Their defense, I think, is 6th overall.
I got
and
you.
If they're not worried about Tanner McKee slinging it around. I hear people saying, "Man, you see him slinging it around."
He's a good backup. I think that's the one thing we wanted to learn from Week 18 is this guy's a very good backup in the league.
Nick Foles won as a backup in the playoffs because, and by the way, he played like crap against the Falcons and was lucky to that day that it worked out because he had tons of experience as a starting quarterback in the NFL heading into those games. He wasn't a guy with no experience except playing the Scribini's backups of the Giants,
but he could sling
in a backup game.
He can sling it. He's
but
tall.
You see him slinging it out there. I'm like, oh my god.
He's tall and he can sling it.
Bottom line is,
pump the brakes.
The Eagles are a good football team that they have a 50% chance of making it to the second round, according to the ESPN computers.
Sentence makes no sense.
Yeah, it makes no sense.
It makes no sense whatsoever.
Wow, that's terrible.
All right, what do we have on the text line, Connor? I would like to hear Amy. I would like to see Amy hear what some of the people are saying. Our topic today is instead of doing the what are you concerned about topic, how about the what are you confident in going into this Sunday's game in which they should, and I will say will, beat the Packers in the wild card round.
All right, so who clearly didn't listen to your request because they're worried. This is a first-time texter, so everyone be nice. But they say, good morning. Has anyone forgetting Matt LaFleur and the Packers last year this same weekend went to Dallas as a touchdown underdog and upset the number 1 offense and a top 10 defense in the league? Could this be a repeat of history this weekend? It'd be unfair not to consider.
I will say this. If the Eagles don't have one of the worst collapses in NFL history, the Eagles are they win the division. The Cowboys should not one of the NFCs last year. They should. They were a good football team. They were a good football team. Not taking away from them. They were a good football team, but they shouldn't have won the division.
Eagles lost it.
The Eagles lost it. One of those games, the Cardinal game.
Just pick
which
one.
Which was terrible.
Yeah.
The Seattle game, if Jalen and AJ don't go rogue,
and if
that
James
game's
Bradbury
at least going to overtime.
has a leg still.
I mean, come on.
Because that didn't help either. Drew Lock going 90 yards downfield in like less than 2 minutes. I get where that guy's coming from. I've heard a couple of people say that they have gone on the road before, just last year.
Listen, and they had a great run last year, and I think there was a lot of positivity around the Packers because you saw what they did last year. They're an experienced team. I don't think anybody's doubting that. It's just you can't say it to the detriment of the Eagles just because they're not playing a walkover. It's the playoffs.
There are people that look for something to be concerned about, and then it's the happy attitude of, oh, I was surprised that they won.
All right, well, then
people
if
are happier.
That makes you happy on Sunday night around 9 o'clock, then that's great.
Yeah, but you know what? I'd rather be happy
all
7
the
days
time.
a week.
Yeah.
Well. 7 days a week instead of, for a couple hours.
I just don't understand. I can't imagine getting out of bed, putting my feet on the ground every day, and saying, well, it's supposed to be like a really great day for something. Going, it might rain today.
Yeah,
I might get in a car accident today.
Well,
I might the intrusive thoughts of all the bad things. I just think people pollute their minds.
It's because it gives them so much joy. They want to set themselves up just in case it doesn't.
No, that's exactly what it is.
Yes, that's exactly what it is.
I
know.
You're trying to set the boundaries of I don't want to be this happy. My gosh,
we
I
don't
might
know what
be
to
sad
do.
Monday.
We're not used to having nice things, so we get nervous when we're given something nice because it's going to get taken away like it has every other time.
Listen, I'm not worried about the rain, but I still check the weather. All right?
Okay.
And it doesn't mean that my day's going to be ruined if it rains, but I still check.
You want to be prepared for
it.
That's it. No, but
that guy's doing more than just checking. That guy's expecting it.
He's expecting the rain.
Expecting.
Okay.
He's expecting
and it's the idea is what Amy said. It's I don't want to. Oh my gosh!
I don't know what to do with joy.
I don't know what to do with all this joy because I may be disappointed on Sunday night. So I want to start dealing with it on Tuesday.
Then that's that guy, and that's that guy's problem. But for me, talking about potential concerns playing the Packers is just me checking my weather app to see if there's a chance of rain, and I think that's totally normal.
I got you.
You could check the app, but this guy's saying that they're basically going to lose. And watch, if they win, he'll be very happy.
Yes.
And it'll go.
No, next week
and
it'll
go,
be,
oh no, Tampa.
The Buccaneers. This is why they're going to look. There's people that are like this
all the time.
Get up every day and do
all the time. All right, give us one more text.
Okay, we've got a text here that's the complete opposite direction.
Nice.
It says, number one, stone cold lead pipe lock, why we win. The best fans anywhere will make the Lincoln unbearable environment. And if we have to travel at any point in the postseason, well, boys, nothing travels better than a run game and defense.
Yeah, look, we'll get there when we get there. The Detroit game, we'll get there when we get there. But I agree with this first part.
Yeah.
And that's what I said earlier is that's like Detroit week will be a totally different conversation.
Oh,
than
absolutely.
what we're talking about Packers week. The Packers have lost to every good team they played. Every one of the best teams in the NFL, Vikings, Eagles, Lions, and they've gotten boat raced or pushed around or unable to capitalize on the Eagles' first quarter mistakes in the first game.
Nobody's saying that they're a bad football
Nobody's
team.
saying they're terrible.
But the Eagles are better. And they're 14-3.
And you can be confident in that.
Yes.
You can enjoy it.
You're
That's
allowed
nice,
to.
isn't it?
Sunshine is nice.
Thank you.
You're
I
allowed
appreciate
to.
it. You're bringing in the sunshine today, Amy. We appreciate that.
Let's go to the Weather Center with Amy Fadool.
All right.
Coming up next, we'll continue talking about the Birds as they are wild card bound, hosting the Green Bay Packers this Sunday at 4:30. Also, we have our Key 3, the Kincade Salciunas Key 3. Amy's favorite time of the day is when she gets to witness German John. So you'll hear that next. It is Kincade and Salciunas. Amy Fadool with us for the rest of the show, 97.5 The Fanatic.
It's time for Birds playoff conversation.
I feel better about this crew going into the playoffs.
Tuesday morning. Amy Fadool joining us here on Kincade and Salciunas. I want to let you know about the deal of the week a great one that John Kincade has participated in. Maybe not the deal itself, but you have participated at the location. You can get one open to close lift ticket to Camelback Mountain for just $40. Check it out on 975thefanatic.com/deals. 12 hours to enjoy 39 trails, fully lit night skiing, which is cool, and high-speed lifts at the largest ski resort in the Poconos.
The Poconos. I do not do the Black Diamond.
I was just going to ask you if you ever did.
No, I do not do Black Diamonds
bunny
at
guy?
all. No.
Nice easy greens.
I like the green-blue combo.
Okay.
When you start to learn the paths.
Okay.
Where it cuts through, but I would more enjoy that like middle ground.
I like the
Diamond,
lounge.
Black Diamond?
You like the
No.
après ski.
I like the lounge. I like to drink.
He said he'd meet me afterwards.
I would.
That's actually a good, my husband doesn't ski, and I grew up skiing.
Yeah.
He was like, what would I do? I'm like, you would enjoy it because you wouldn't have to be out there.
Oh, there's people watching football in the
Yeah,
lounges.
you just
and
hang
everything.
out.
I was-
Come
I
in by
was-
the fire.
Right.
I was having flashbacks yesterday because we got a decent amount of snow yesterday.
We did.
And I've noticed, I'm speaking to two fellow parents here, when you're not feeling well, it doesn't matter. If he wants to play in the snow,
Correct.
you got to play in the snow. So I have a cold, and I'm like shivering in the freaking snow, sledding and everything, which is great. I had a lot of fun. But I had flashbacks of my Manioc days. First off, it's terror flashbacks because I'm driving up those hills.
It's awful.
But once you get there, pre-kid, Christy knew, my wife knew I couldn't do anything. So I was like, man, it's 2:45. I used to work middays. It's like,
Let's go. What are you doing? All right, let's walk down.
Walk down to a bar,
Yeah.
or you
There
just
you
go in
go.
the backyard and you put the beers inside the snow to keep them cold
right
that
there.
way.
I will alert you too, and I thank AJ for bringing it up. The weather knee is 2 for 2
That's good work by you.
on forecasting this year, and I will have a snow forecast for the weekend coming up. But right now,
Which one's the sports knee? Because you usually get those wrong.
Yeah.
Well, they've been.
You don't
they
wanna
haven't
cross
been as
those
good.
out.
They've been like 62% on the year, but no, the weather knee 2 for 2.
2 for 2.
That's actually good work by the weather knee. I
Yeah, we'll see what
gotta give
happens.
you credit. Amy, are you concerned at all? Because I know people are worried about this stuff, even though it happens this time of year every single season. Kellen Moore is being requested by the New Orleans Saints to interview for the head coaching job. Are you worried that could distract him?
No. I think that if there's one thing that we've learned from Kellen Moore here, he's a supremely focused guy. And it was funny, something we've talked about before. He sounds already like a head coach. I don't think it's going to be surprising when he gets a head coaching job. But no, I think that's just us having a little bit of the flashbacks from Jonathan Gannon and Shane Steichen and that kind of situation. A little bit. I think that we are a little bit gun shy when it comes to that. Of like, oh, don't do that. Stop poaching our recruiters. Stop doing coordinators. Stop doing that. So
Well, it's good as Vic's not going.
yeah, I don't.
So
This
we
guy
have to wait.
he's any
He's
man
fine.
that talks about the Palladium in his opening press conference.
Yes.
He's locked in. He is
Yes.
super stoked to be back here. They serve beers in like 4-ounce glasses. It's amazing. So no, I mean, is there any concern? Probably not. In my mind, when I heard that or when I saw that, I read that, I thought, I get it. He just doesn't strike me as a guy that's going to be easily distracted. I think he's a good guy at compartmentalizing and being like, all right, I'm focused on this at hand. And I think he would be the type of person to tell a team, I'm
Focus.
focused on this.
Yeah, absolutely. Now,
Keep me in mind.
I just want to revisit a conversation that people used to have before the season started. Would you fire Nick Sirianni if Kellen Moore were to get a coaching job somewhere?
No.
Remember those talking points?
Yes, people did have that belief.
Because they just thought that was it.
They thought Kellen Moore was
He
going to
was
be.
it.
Remember during the summer, too, though, a lot of people thought, well, if the Eagles have success, Nick Sirianni's going to get no credit for it. I think he's gotten pretty good credit for
He's
it.
gotten credit.
And the thing is, I think the way that the season has played out has given it more credit because he's had to manage a lot.
Yeah.
The direction of the team, the offense
sure.
at times, personalities, get this team all on the same page. Everybody bought in. I think it's shown that it's worked.
I will say there's a major difference, though, with Fangio and Kellen Moore than Brian
no
Johnson
question.
and Sean
Yeah,
Desai. Like, it's
that's
not
not
even
even-
close.
Adults in the room.
So there will be more credit given to the coordinators at times for certain aspects. Like
And that's okay.
I'm not giving Nick any credit for the defense.
Nothing
I'm
wrong with
not.
that. Nothing wrong with that.
No, I think that's fair.
Well, people being able to collaborate and work together, I got to give credit some to that because it helped derail last season. And
Yeah,
this
when there
year-
wasn't that
absolutely.
singular
this year,
voice.
this group's working together.
There's a
beautifully.
singular voice and everybody's bought in. And last year there was and they said it immediately after the season, all off season, so many different voices.
You mean the
coming
defensive coordinator that was waiting in the wing?
other defensive coordinator, and there was a
yeah.
guy that was the coordinating of the coordinator.
Well, the other major talking point of the offseason, that Fletcher Cox and Jason Kelsey being gone, and their replacements are going to the Pro Bowl.
It's amazing.
That's amazing.
It's incredible.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
I don't know that anybody saw that.
No, nobody.
Jalen Carter, I could have said.
Yeah, maybe
I
like,
wouldn't
all
have
right.
been blown away, but
Cam Jurgens, you're like,
Yeah.
that's impressive.
Yeah, it's really it's amazing.
Very
And look,
impressive.
I don't think anyone was wrong to have that assumption before the season started. Like I think that's
no
like
apprehension about it. Yeah, but they underestimated these gentlemen.
yeah, especially we've talked about it. The O-line wasn't good last year.
They weren't.
So like they moved on from a starting center to a new starting center, and they have a bit of
He
difference
certainly
there.
helps that.
He definitely helps that.
Certainly helps
You
to
know.
have that dynamic back there.
Because you still hear people say, "Your boy Chase Daniel, John, you're his biggest fan." He tweeted out at one point a couple
Of course
weeks
he did.
ago, any running back could have this success behind this Eagles,
Which is like
offensive
ridiculous.
line.
How many people have had 2,000 yards?
Not many.
9.
Yeah, it's amazing.
9.
Yeah, but any running back can do it. That's why DeAndre Swift.
German John liked that.
That's good. Yeah, it's actually
9.
good
Ed Rooney 9 times.
work as well. Speaking of 9 and German John, let's go to the Kincade and Salciunas Key 3 best minutes from today's show.
Now, the Kincade and Salciunas Key 3, today's best.
So our question, instead of what are you concerned about going into Sunday, screw that, man. What are you confident in that the Eagles will go into Lincoln Financial Field on Sunday, welcome the Green Bay Packers into the Link, Sunday 4:30, and you say they're going to win this game. And not only are they going to win this game, they're going to make it to the NFC Championship game. If you're still hesitant saying that they're going to get to the Super Bowl, that's fine.
That's fine.
Every right to do
Understandable.
that. But to start all of a sudden doing the fear-mongering, to start talking yourself into this Packers team being some juggernaut. We had texts yesterday about how, don't sleep on the Packers. Why are we sleeping on the Eagles? The Eagles are 14-3.
Why is
they should not be slept on.
You're sleeping on a team that is, every time they have faced a legit Super Bowl contender, they have been humped.
Yes.
So it should not be don't sleep on the Packers, as you well put it. It should be don't sleep on the Eagles. But I can tell you point blank, what am I confident in? I'm completely confident that your well-rested Saquon Barkley going to have himself a day. That they will be able to run the football, and they used him in the passing game against Green Bay. They may pull out some of that again. I think the offense is going to cook. So I'm confident in that, but I do believe Saquon will be the straw that stirs the drink.
I don't believe in the rust factor. I understand why people are concerned about it. I get it. I get that could be somebody's number one concern. All right, that's fair, right? Like, that's a fair concern. Saying that Jordan Love is all of a sudden going to throw for 4 touchdowns and 0 picks is not necessarily a fair assumption, especially when he hasn't been that guy and your defense has been number 1 or toward the top all season long in every single statistical category. I get the rust concern, but man, once you start running that football, and that's going to open up your receivers. Like, Jalen Hurts might be a little bit rusty seeing the field early on, but once he sees A.J. Brown wide open because they're stacking the box because they can't stop Saquon, once they do some routes where they will, like, you know, the basically a wide receiver screen, sometimes it's illegal, where they get Devontae Smith open in space, right? They do a great job by Dallas Goedert screening a cornerback for the Packers. Once Jalen Hurts gets in that rhythm, I think that rhythm's going to be there for the rest of the game, and I would say for the rest of the playoffs. Our man Jeff McLane joins us.
They weren't so great against the Packers. I think they were just feeling things out then. You know, I've gone back already looked at that game because if they're facing them again, it'll be interesting to see, you know, how both teams approach having seen each other before and then in the rematch. But this is a much different one that the Packers saw in Brazil.
You're a 2 seed.
You're
14-3. You're a dominant team. You're better in every facet of the game. Why in the world do you serve the public with, hey, here's why you need to be scared? I've been talking about this with the Packers for a week and a half.
Yes, you have been.
Thank heavens. Because I didn't want to do it. I wasn't going to do it. I would not have participated in the, why should we be scared
Wait,
of the
so if
Packers?
I asked that question, you would have just walked out of the studio?
No, I would have, I put up a barrier between us, but I would, I would literally just discount the nonsense of why we're doing it. I'm glad that Coach Dungy is going to join us on the show now.
I see them playing like a couple of years ago. Big, bad front where you're dominant with the offensive line. You've got some defensive line people that nobody can handle. And you've got these receivers that if you have to load up to stop Saquon and Jalen, they can beat one-on-one. And they've got the formula, and they're executing it right now, and they're fairly healthy. So I like where they are. I think they're just really ready to roll, and I don't think anybody's going to stop them until they get to Detroit. I think we can look for Philadelphia and Detroit in the NFC Championship game.
Worry about yourself.
Yeah.
The Packers have to worry about you. You're 14-3. You earned the home game. You're the 2 seed. You're one of the 4 best teams in football. Like, to me, dance with what brung you.
Yeah.
Do what you do well. Let them worry about you.
That's why I disagreed with times when our man Bill Colarulo, who does middays with Mike Missanelli, but also the pregame show, well, this team is one of the better rushing defenses in the NFL. Am I supposed to now all of a sudden change my offensive game plan just because the opposing team is good at it? The Eagles are great at it. Sorry, that is the Kincade Salciunas Key 3.
You're like a
Minutes from today's show, brought to us by Von C. Brewing Company in Norristown. Check out their Key 3. We'll explain more coming up in a second. The OG Pills legendary Philly Lager, which is a gold medal winner at the 2023 World Beer Cup for Best American Pilsner. We got the Walking on Clouds, Von C's flagship hazy IPA, and Johnny.
And the Vienna Lager, which takes you right to the heart of Norristown. You'll feel like you're right there with all the German ingredients. Visit VonCBrewing.com. You are... you're wired differently.
Yes, I'm a weird person.
But drinking potential warm or not chilled Gatorade is one of them.
See, now why is that?
I don't know why that's weird.
I think that's fine.
But you were saying in a store you can get it.
Warm is weird,
No,
but like
they don't do
just
not
the shelf.
Yeah, like but if you buy a singular Gatorade,
Yes.
it's always chilled.
So Andrew DeCecco brought in some Gatorades yesterday. His
got his
favorite,
Gatorade.
the Arctic
Yes,
Blitz.
that's his favorite.
Which I've never heard anybody say that.
Very hard to find.
You didn't bring one for Amy when he worked with Amy.
How about
He
that?
wanted to see
he
how
already
it
knows
worked
that
out.
Arctic cherry.
So he brought it.
Blast. It's the blast.
I
Arctic
like the blast.
So he brought it in, and I drank half of it yesterday, and I was like, oh, it's still in my bag. So I just took a sip of it. Is that weird?
No.
Yeah, see? John found it strange.
I'm a little shocked, I got to tell you.
It wasn't like it was someone else's.
No, I understand. It's just is that the idea of it not chilled.
See, I don't.
Is,
I like if I have like bottled water, I don't want that cold ice.
Exactly.
Yeah, room temperature.
I drink mine lukewarm.
So you'd
You're
rather
in the
not have,
minority.
I am in the
here.
big time minority.
Sorry.
You guys don't have. You do not have.
Oh, I do.
Water in your.
We do.
In your,
There's other people that
refrigerator.
other
Comes out
people like
cold.
that. I prefer. So when if I get
If you take it out of your door when you get water,
yeah,
your kitchen door,
that's cold.
and then what do
don't
you
like
do? Do you
that.
let it sit?
I just drink it anyway.
No,
But
you sure?
I ask my
but
preference.
The point, if you had a bottle of water, I don't go
I
in the fridge first.
Yeah, I don't put all.
Right.
So if I get like some of them in the fridge and some of them out because I prefer it out.
Yeah, I got
Okay, that's
sensitive
it.
teeth.
Right?
I'd rather it warm
Well,
temperature.
And also, I'm a water
That's a lot of
chugger, not like a water.
Sensodyne will take care of that, Connor.
It won't take care of that. But I'm a water chugger, and you can't chug cold water. It hurts.
Wow.
Maybe not you.
You can't.
Yeah, I mean, you could.
Could.
Question. I told you guys yesterday I'm doing dry January. It was the first time ever.
I'm doing it too.
I had to take NyQuil last night. 10% alcohol. Does that mean?
No, that's not.
Oh, cheater.
Does that mean I lost?
You got to
Not
start
at all.
over in February.
That's
No, you're fine.
the purple drink, man.
You're fine. It is. If you were the number one pick in the
Scissor.
draft, it might derail your career.
It could. Amy, listen, thank you as always. We appreciate it. So next week you're coming in on Wednesday.
Yes, Wednesday.
And it will be the midweek point between the Eagles' victory over the Packers and then, of course, getting set for. Who are you thinking? Is it Bucks here in Philadelphia, or is it the winner of the 4-5
Could be the Rams.
I think it's the winner of the 5 matchup. Could be the
So you
Rams.
think Commanders are going to Tampa? And
I do.
which would send them to Detroit.
Correct.
yes.
Okay.
And the Commanders have no shot.
And then
beating
send them
Detroit.
home.
By the way,
I do like the Bucks. I think Baker Mayfield had a tremendous season.
Yeah.
But I don't know. With the Commanders, I don't know. I think they might win.
I saved this from Santos because he says you're not getting any more work out of Amy Fadool because you guys end the show at 9:55.
That's good work. But she still came in 5 minutes
we used
earlier.
To get you, we used to get Amy in for less than. This is a great use of funds. We're
See?
getting more
See?
out of Amy.
That's right. You can give me an extra. You
Good
get
job,
an extra
Santos.
3.5
How do you
minutes.
feel about that?
I feel great.
There you go. Hey,
Really worth the extra 3.5 minutes.
join us and our generous partner, Pierce Phelps Bryan Heating and Air Conditioning Contractors. Make a donation today to the AACR, the American Association for Cancer Research. You can do it at 90 because cancer research saves lives.
Damn right, man. Mike Missanelli show coming your way next with Bill Colarulo and that awful announcing.com Ray Dunn.
The best.
Love it. Everybody have a